Chapter 701. Distorted, blurry, dim, and grotesque. Sing Hui could not describe the feeling he had when he was transported by the divine teleportation array. Using human language to measure his current feelings seemed to be barren. His entire body seemed to be kneaded into a rectangle, then into a circle, and then into a square. However, due to the fact that he did not have the concept of space at all, even if his entire body was stretched into a thread that was more than 10 kilometers long, he could not feel anything. He could only watch as he transformed into this form and rapidly shuttled back and forth. This feeling is definitely not simple space travel. I once transformed into the divine beast Kuan Peng, tore through the void, and traveled through space. But that kind of space travel and this kind of teleportation are two completely different concepts. What is the secret of this divine teleportation array? Sing Hui's heart was filled with incredulity. Even if his current cultivation was considered to be at the peak of existence in the entire Tianhuang region, the little things that were happening to him were still beyond the limits of his understanding. He did not know how much time had passed in this shuttling without a sense of space or time. The space in front of him finally stabilized. Sing Hui's body also changed from a rectangle, a circle, a square, a line, and a series of other changes, gradually maintaining his human form. Then, the front suddenly became bright. The strong light filled his vision, almost making it impossible for him to open his eyes. In this moment of distraction, a strong sense of weightlessness suddenly came over him. Sing Hui immediately realized that he was hundreds of meters in the air and was falling rapidly. He did not have time to observe his surroundings. The first thing he did was to adjust his control of the world's yuan qi and fly. Then failure. He continued to fall. Then he tried to sense his personal space, took out his flying sword, and flew on it. He had failed as well. His personal space had completely escaped his senses, let alone opening his personal space. He couldn't even sense the chaotic divine hall. Even the scarlet abyss sword on his back had vanished without a trace. Whether it was the sword intent or the power of the golden crow within it, they had all fallen silent. Looks like I'm back. Back to Earth? Sure enough, just like the predicament that Dongxian encountered back then, Earth can't use all the characteristics of the Son of Chaos at all. Sing Hui took a deep breath. Fortunately, he was unable to control the qi of heaven and earth, and his genuine qi had dissipated. However, his physical body, which had been tempered by cultivating the 9 transformations of the true dragon, as well as the sublimation of his potential from consuming the dragonification fruit, was still present. In terms of the strength of his physical body, he was now able to stand shoulder to shoulder with a 10th grade spirit beast, or even a 10th grade sacred beast. Furthermore, how could a level 10 holy beast be harmed by a mere fall from a height of 100 meters? It should be known that the Class 9 holy beast Xuanwu had caused a tsunami of over 1,000 kilometers. Although this tsunami was due to its innate affinity for water, it was enough to prove the strength of a Class 9 holy beast. With Sing Hui's current physique that was equivalent to that of a Class 10 holy beast, the only things on Earth that could hurt him were probably the most advanced weapons. Even if it was a nuclear explosion, as long as he was not at the center of the explosion, he would be able to walk out unscathed. Rumble. After adjusting his body slightly, Sing Hui fell heavily to the ground like a cannonball. A height of about 150 meters caused the ground where he landed to be torn apart, forming a pit that was a few meters deep. Sing Hui's body gently leapt and appeared over 100 meters away in an instant. The intense friction between his body and the air created a scene of a hurricane sweeping across the ground. This familiar air, however, Sing Hui did not feel it. Instead, he took a deep breath and his face was filled with uncontrollable joy and gratitude. Although he was a supreme expert in the divine wilderness, he was still not 40 years old after all. His emotional awareness was not as weak as those old fellows who had lived for over 1,000 years. After leaving his home for more than 10 years, that kind of loneliness, and that kind of depression that no one could describe to him almost suffocated him. Only now, when he finally stepped back into the world of Earth, could he breathe to his heart's content, to his heart's content, to his heart's content. Phew. After more than 10 breaths, Sing Hui let out a long breath and calmed himself down from the joy of returning to Earth. In fact, he had to calm down. He had already sensed that a large number of tanks and armored vehicles were rapidly heading in this direction from a military base 10 kilometers away. The target, it seemed to be him. This place, Sing Hui looked in all directions. This seems to be the Danyang Mountain where the Danyang sword sect is located. Sing Hui touched the ground slightly. It was Mount Danyang, but it also didn't look like it. The sky above Mount Danyang in front of him seemed to have been plowed by a nuclear bomb, turning into a desolate place. In his impression, Mount Danyang should have been lush and ancient. Could it be that something bigger happened to the Danyang sword sect later on? So much so that someone gave the order to raise the Danyang sword sect to the ground with artillery shells? Sing Hui guessed. However, he quickly denied it. At that time, the strongest person in the Danyang sword sect was only a martial Dao master, which was roughly equivalent to the marrow cleansing realm in the divine wilderness. With such strength, a well-trained squadron with modern weapons would be enough to kill them. There is no need to mobilize a large force and use large-scale weapons. Thinking of this, Sing Hui looked around again. However, when he looked around, his guess surged in his mind again. This was because he did see traces of artillery bombardment in many places. This place, a war had really broken out, and it was a large-scale war. Did the Danyang sword sect usher in a leap of development in the more than 10 years I was away? Sing Hui was a little suspicious. Seeing a large number of tanks and armored vehicles quickly driving over from all directions, Sing Hui could not help but feel that these troops were most likely stationed here to deal with the remnants of the Danyang sword sect. As for him, obviously, he was the legitimate successor of the Danyang sword sect. He could not wait to see the most important people to him when he returned to Earth this time. He did not want to offend the government and cause a series of troubles. He did not care about himself, but he did not want to see his loved ones get into an accident. With this thought in mind, Sing Hui bent his feet slightly and then suddenly exerted force. Boom! A deafening explosion sounded in an instant. The explosion did not just affect the ground where Ching Su stood, which had been blasted to pieces by the recoil. It also included the violent rumble when he leapt into the air and broke through the sound barrier in that instant. It should be noted that a powerful figure could easily reach 5 or 6 times the speed of sound when flying on a sword. Although Sing Hui's current physique could not withstand the magical power of a powerful figure, it was still comparable to a 10th-level creature. It was not difficult for him to reach 2 or 3 times the speed of sound when running at full speed. With a leap, he easily broke through the sound barrier and left the tanks and armored vehicles behind him in the blink of an eye, disappearing without a trace with a roar. Sing Hui left happily, but the scene of him breaking through the sound barrier and flying away fell into the eyes of the troops who were rushing over quickly. For a moment, the entire military base was in a panic. Quick, quick, quick! Calculate the specific data when that monster left for me. Where's the camera? Did you record the monster's image? Oh my God, when that monster flew away, it definitely broke through the sound barrier. This is the standard of an annihilation-grade bird. If it can reach this speed without being a bird, its energy level is probably higher, even beyond the apocalypse grade. No, the spatial fluctuations formed when the space channel is opened often spread hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, which will seriously interfere with electronic products. The space channel at Danyang Mountain has not been active for more than 10 years. Our equipment here has not been updated, so we can't determine the specific image of the monster. We can only infer from visual estimation and some side data that this monster is about the same size as a human. It should be a humanoid monster. A humanoid monster? Could it be the real member behind the Dire Beast civilization? You know, what we're fighting against now is only the biological weapons they sent over. Unable to confirm. Report. Report the news here immediately. In addition, I want to jointly apply for a detailed study of Danyang Mountain with Academician Luo Song. Academician Luo Song is right. There is definitely a big problem on Danyang Mountain. Maybe the reason why our civilization was targeted by the extraterrestrial civilization is because of this unknown Donyang mountain. Accompanied by the roars, the base that had been quiet for more than 10 years suddenly became lively. Singhui did not know what kind of impact he had brought to the military base. After leaving Donyang Mountain at an extremely fast speed, he landed. After all, as he had not studied the way to use his physical strength, he would cause too much of commotion if he leaped and ran at full speed. Breaking through the sound barrier and creating a sonic boom would definitely cause people to turn their heads. In addition, the air pressure created by running at full speed would also leave obvious traces of damage to the surroundings. Earth was his hometown. Here, he did not want to be as indulgent as he was in the divine wilderness. It should be known that a magical ability in the divine wilderness could turn an area of dozens of kilometers into a scorched hell. The range of destruction was not inferior to a 1,000,000-ton nuclear bomb. If it was a magical ability with a large coverage and range, no one could stop it from bombarding continuously. It could even destroy the Earth's ecosystem and wipe out all life on Earth. Although he had not reached the level of destroying the Earth's ecosystem, his destructive power was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Therefore, for the next period of time, it was better to be careful lest he accidentally caused a destructive disaster in some places. There's a county town in front. I should change my clothes and go back. Singhui thought of his parents and relatives whom he had not seen for more than 10 years and could not help but feel anxious to return home. Relying on his extraordinary agility, he easily stole a set of clothes and completed the disguise. However, after changing his clothes, he did not throw away the things on his body. His clothes were refined from natural oddities. Although it looked weak, its defensive power was strong enough to withstand a magical ability attack. Its level had reached an astonishing level 13, and he also had many treasures on him. Because he estimated that the power of the Son of Chaos on Earth might not be able to be used, and he could not open his personal space, he deliberately kept the immortal flower with him. He also carried a bottle of pills that could strengthen his physique and extend his lifespan by 60 years, as well as the Scarlet Abyss sword that would never leave his body. These things naturally had to be kept well. After wrapping the Scarlet Abyss sword that might cause trouble with his clothes, Singhui tidied himself up, took a deep breath, and slowly walked into the county town in front of him. Chapter 702. As Singhui walked around the county town, he quickly felt something strange. The country's economy has been developing rapidly. After more than 10 years, this county town shouldn't be so backward. Why do I feel that this county town is a bit depressed? Is it the loss of population due to urbanization? No, this county town has a lot of people. It's even more than the county town I saw before. Singhui glanced around. Relying on his sharp ears, he quickly heard some suppressed screams. Following the sound, he came to a dark alley. He saw some tattooed young men with dyed red and green hair, threatening two people who looked like students. He didn't wait for those people to scold him. His body flashed, and he quickly took down 5 hooligans. Thank you. The 2 young students who were saved quickly thanked Singhui. It's okay. Okay, you can go. Singhui waved his hand. Big brother, are you a warrior? The kind of warrior who can kill dire beasts? Can I be your disciple? One of the young men mustered up his courage and asked, Dire beasts? Warrior? When Singhui heard this, he just thought that these 2 young men were fans of wuxia movies. He smiled and said, Your main task now is to learn. Go. I'm very talented. My teacher said. The young man wanted to say more, but the timid young man pulled him and quickly ran away. In this regard, Singhui didn't care. He quickly searched the hooligans and found a total of $2,000 that looked like currency. Is there a new version of currency? But then again, at least 13 years have passed. Singhui murmured. He put away the money and then walked around the county town. But what made him feel strange was that in this small county town with a diameter of 3 to 4 kilometers, he didn't find any mobile, telecommunications, or communication business. He had no choice but to enter this unfamiliar company called Planet Communication. 1 phone, 1 card. Please recommend me. The price is within $1,000. Thank you. Sing Hui walked to the business hall and said to a woman who stood up to greet him. The woman was clearly not very interested in phones that cost less than $1,000, but she still maintained her professionalism. At the same time, she recommended a phone that cost $1,660 to Ching Su. However, when she saw how determined Ching Su was, she had no choice but to take out a phone that cost $980. This is one of the better phones that we sell here. It might not be expensive, but it has all the necessary functions, such as surfing the internet, playing games, and being online. Furthermore, this phone is quite good at resisting electromagnetic radiation. Even under level 1 electromagnetic radiation, it can still receive signals. Sing Hui took a look. The phone had not changed much in the past 10 years, so he quickly completed the purchase and replaced it with a SIM card. However, when he changed the SIM card and saw the number, he had a bad feeling. Are the telecommunications and mobile companies no longer operating? Why is this number 13 digits? Telecommunications? Mobile? The female salesperson was a little stunned by Sing Hui's question. After a while, she said, "Sir, don't you know? As early as 6 years ago, the telecommunications industry had completed the integration with the strong support of the federal government. Now, there's only one planetary telecommunications left in the world. The other telecommunications companies have merged into planetary telecommunications." Sing Hui's heart suddenly sank. What about the previous numbers? Oh, weren't the phone numbers we used in the past 11 digits? The so-called 13 digits now is just the addition of the area code on the original basis. For example, the number in our Huaxia region is 02. You just need to add 02 before the number you call. The female salesperson looked at Sing Hui with a strange gaze, but she still patiently explained. "Thank you," Sing Hui said, and quickly dialed a phone number that he remembered very clearly. Then it got through. Suddenly, Sing Hui's right hand that was holding the phone trembled slightly. "Hello, my Qing Yumming. Who is this?" Although it was a little hoarse, it was still a voice that was full of energy. Upon hearing this voice, Sing Hui's heart trembled violently. At this moment, he actually felt an inexplicable sense of anxiety and fear. He didn't even know how to continue speaking. "Hello, hello." Qing Yumming's voice sounded again. If it weren't for the fact that this was his private number, and that the person who knew this number had to be someone very close to him, he would have hung up. On the other hand, after a moment of calming down, Sing Hui also forced himself to recover a little, but his voice was still trembling. After a while, he slowly said, "Father, it's me. I'm Sing Hui." As soon as Sing Hui finished speaking, the other end suddenly fell silent. Apart from the obviously heavy breathing, there was no reply for a long time. You're Sing Hui, where are you?" After a long while, the other end spoke slowly, seemingly in disbelief. "I'm in Beijing Province, Berlin City, Global Communications Business Office on Xianyang Road." "Beijing Province, Berlin City? Wait for me. I'll get someone to pick you up right away." His voice gradually stabilized, faintly revealing a trace of the aura of a leader who had the situation under control. 13 or even 14 years ago, his father, Qing Yumming, was already the deputy mayor of the subprovincial city of Puyang City. Now that more than 10 years had passed, he naturally had more authority. Sing Hui stood quietly outside the business office and waited silently. Before returning to the world of Earth, his heart was full of anxiety and eagerness. He wished he could grow a pair of wings and fly back as fast as he could. Now that he had finally returned to the world of Earth and returned to Donyang Mountain, he felt an inexplicable sense of fear, anxiety, and even emptiness. Even he himself didn't know why his emotions had become so complicated at this moment. Phew! After a long time, Sing Hui let out a long breath and forced himself to calm down. After all, he had experienced countless big and small situations in the world of the divine wilderness. Although this matter concerned his family, after recovering, he could still forcibly control his emotions. Sizzle. At this time, the lights in the business office and even many shops with lights on in front of him flickered at the same time, flickering between bright and dark. Hey, we also have this kind of electromagnetic anomaly here. A salesman not far from Tsinghui whispered, "I thought it was only in the north." Who cares? The weather forecast didn't broadcast it, so it's probably not a big movement. For safety's sake, it's better to turn off the main switch for the time being. No need. We use high-resistance equipment here. It's fine. Tsinghui listened to the conversation and vaguely understood something. It seemed that in recent years, the country had often been attacked by electromagnetic storms. Thinking of this, Tsinghui couldn't help but take out his mobile phone. However, it seemed that because of the electromagnetic storm, the mobile phone signal was now in a state of no service. Even if he wanted to call his mother, Jiang Ningji, and senior sister Jiang again, he was powerless. According to the salesman, it seemed that this kind of storm generally didn't last too long, so he waited patiently. Before the storm dissipated, a vehicle that seemed to have been modified, and its appearance resembled a military Hummer, had already driven over quickly. Not long after, a middle-aged man dressed as an armed policeman and a man carrying a briefcase, who looked like a secretary, jumped down from the car. After seeing Tsinghui, the man immediately greeted him with a smile. "Are you Prince Tsinghui? I'm Wu Fei, on the orders of your father, the city lord of Qingyuan, to pick you up." As he spoke, he took the initiative to open the car door and gestured with his hand. "City lord." Tsinghui heard this title and felt a little strange. "Isn't it the mayor?" It doesn't matter if it's the mayor or governor. Young Master Su hasn't been paying much attention to political and current affairs recently. I'm a warrior, and I've been cultivating in seclusion for the past few years. I just came out recently." Tsinghui said. Warriors existed on Earth before, so he used this as an excuse to not arouse suspicion. Warrior in seclusion? When Wu Fei heard this, he was immediately filled with awe. He immediately regarded Tsinghui as the kind of ascetic cultivator who focused solely on cultivation and did not care about worldly affairs. He immediately said, "Young Master Su, you may not know this, but after the Earth Federation was established 7 years ago, the world's structure has been readjusted. At present, our Earth no longer has the so-called division of countries. There are only the Huaxia region, the North America region, the South America region, the Inher region, the Shanghan region, the Tokyo region, and other regions. Due to the limited military power, in order to facilitate defense and management, there are no states, provinces, or cities under each region. Instead, they are unified into 3 levels of cities, which are the main city, the big city, and the ordinary city. They can barely correspond to the previous 3 levels of provinces, cities, and counties on our side. For example, the city we're in now is Berlin, which is an ordinary small city. The highest management in charge of these cities is the city lord, the deputy city lord, and the newly added Glory Council 3 years ago. When Tsinghui heard this, he could not help but feel a little stunned. In just over 10 years, the Earth had been unified. Moreover, the reunified Earth had actually undergone such a drastic change. What about currencies, words, numbers, ratios, and other systems? They have also been integrated and unified. As Chinese is the language with the largest population in the world, the current language has been unified into Chinese. Of course, languages like English still exist, but it will probably take 2 or 3 generations for them to be completely eliminated. As for currencies, numbers, and the like, they have also been unified. Currently, the currency in circulation is the Federation currency. The purchasing power of one currency is roughly equivalent to 2 RMB 10 years ago, as well as 0. 3 US dollars, 0. For pounds sterling, and so on. Wu Fei continued to explain to Tsinghui, and very soon, he had already made Tsinghui understand these basic things. However, just as Tsinghui was listening to Wu Fei's explanation, he seemed to have noticed something, and he suddenly raised his head. Then, he heard a roar coming from the horizon. When the flying objects came closer, he saw that they were more than 10 supersonic fighter jets. However, What made Singhui feel a little incredulous was that the target of these supersonic fighter jets was not another fighter jet, but a bird. A huge bird with a wingspan of more than 40 meters like a falcon. Chapter 700, please recommend. Chapter 703. This is... Oh my god, its flying speed is close to the speed of sound. This is definitely a disaster-level bird. While Singhui was staring at the void, Wu Fei, who was introducing the recent changes, could not help but exclaim, "How could a disaster-level bird appear here?" The closest space passage to us is the fourth space passage outside the Jade Sea military fortress. It is a full 1,300 kilometers away from here. A disaster-level bird? Space passage? Jade Sea military fortress? Although Wu Fei's explanation had surprised Singhui, it was still within the scope of understanding. However, at this moment, disaster-level bird, space passage, Jade Sea military fortress, and other terms had completely overturned his impression and understanding of the world on Earth. If he had not just talked to his father, Qing Yuming, he would have thought that he had been transported to a parallel world similar to Earth's environment. Rumble. Violent roars continued to explode in the void. The battle between the supersonic fighter jets and the disaster-level bird gradually faded away. However, it was expected that this battle would inevitably end with the victory of this flying squadron. Compared to the elite fighter jets of humans, a disaster-level dire beast was obviously weaker. What? What kind of monster is that? According to the data derived by the Federation, a dire beast with a flying speed of more than 400 kilometers is classified as a Lord-level dire beast. That bird just now was flying at more than 800 kilometers per hour. It is definitely a disaster-level dire beast. A dire beast has actually attacked an area 1,300 kilometers away from the space passage. Could it be that the space passage has expanded again? The one who answered Singhui was not Wu Fei, who was dressed as a secretary, but another middle-aged man in an armed police uniform. Lord-level dire beast, disaster-level dire beast. Singhui looked at Wu Fei and the middle-aged man who were worried but still did not look surprised. Obviously, this kind of thing was no longer a strange story in these years. He immediately calmed down and asked, "These dire beasts, what's going on? Young Master Su, you don't know?" Wu Fei was taken aback. This young master, Su, had been in seclusion for an unusually long time. It seemed that during this period of time, the city lord of Green Jade City had simply been constantly sending him resources and had not explained to him in detail what had happened in the outside world. However, he didn't dare not answer Singhui's question. He patiently explained, "According to the experts, these dire beasts should be an outpost of an extraterrestrial civilization. In fact, the reason why the countries on Earth could unite so quickly was because of the oppression of this extraterrestrial civilization." Extraterrestrial civilization? Singhui felt a strong sense of disharmony in his heart. In just over a decade, not only had Earth been unified, but now, even aliens had come out? What had happened in the past 10 years? Wu Fei looked at his phone. The storm seemed to have ended, and his phone's signal had been restored. He quickly used his phone to log into a website and pulled up some information. "Young Master Su, you can roughly understand what is going on with the extraterrestrial civilization and the ferocious beasts after reading this information." Singhui lowered his head and used Wu Fei's phone to flip through the information one by one. Extraterrestrial civilization, dire beasts, warriors, Earth Federation's 36 districts, main cities, large cities, towns, glory parliament, rank 5 aristocrats, military control, civilization wars. The series of information was divided into many columns and listed in front of Singhui one by one. Singhui looked at it for a moment, then turned his gaze to the memorabilia page in the search bar. 13 years ago, in other words, on January 9th, 24 AD, a spatial distortion appeared in Mount Donyang for the first time. On April 12th, 25, a spatial passage appeared in Mount Donyang. The first spatial passage was only 3 meters in diameter and was circular in shape. The spatial fluctuations it emitted could only affect a radius of 100 kilometers. On May 3rd, 26, the ferocious beasts near Mount Donyang were cleared out. 3 days later, the spatial passage mysteriously closed. On August 22nd, 28, spatial passage number 2 appeared in Barcelona. Following that, spatial passages number 3, 4, and even 9 appeared one after another. A large number of ferocious beasts swarmed into Earth. On August 16, 29, the alliance of countries formed an elite warrior team. They approached the spatial passage and confirmed the existence of an extraterrestrial civilization. On June 14, 30, news of an extraterrestrial civilization spread. Doomsday theories began to spread. Some people wantonly spread the news and destroyed it. Social order continued to deteriorate and become chaotic. In just half a month, there were countless cases of burning, murder, and robbery. Various countries ordered the implementation of military control. On January 4th, 31, the spatial passage suddenly expanded. The spatial fluctuations expanded from 200 kilometers to 600 kilometers, covering military bases stationed abroad. More than 90% of electronic equipment malfunctioned. The military bases were defeated. Tripoli was massacred. Nearly 1 million people died. On June 6th, 31, the World Summit was held. Half a month later, the Earth Federation was established. Tsing Hui looked at this piece of information and gradually fell silent. The Earth Federation was established on June 6th, 31, and now, on September 19th, 38. Of Earth's 190 million square kilometers of land, 40 million square kilometers had fallen into the hands of the ferocious beasts. The total area was more than 4 times the size of ancient Huaxia. Moreover, this 40 million square kilometers referred to the area completely occupied by the ferocious beasts. There were still nearly 20 million square kilometers of land that were filled with ferocious beasts. Due to the spatial fluctuations distorting and interfering with the battlefield, electronic equipment was almost unusable. Humans could only rely on the flesh and blood of the military to fill the gaps in those areas and stop the continuous invasion of the ferocious beasts. The 4th spatial passage appeared in Yuhai province. What about the people in Yuhai province? And the people in Puyang City? Tsing Hui looked up and asked. The spatial passage in Yuhai province has a diameter of 33.6 meters. It's ranked 6th among the 9 spatial passages. With the spatial passage as the center, everything within a radius of 800 kilometers is covered by spatial fluctuations. The people in Yuhai province have already evacuated. Your father is currently the deputy mayor of Yuhai City, which is 230 kilometers away from Yuhai Fortress. Yuhai City is 194 kilometers away from Berlin City. If everything goes well, you'll be able to see your father in 3 hours. Wu Fei said with a smile. Tsing Hui nodded and continued to use Wu Fei's phone to read the latest news. As for calling senior sister Jiang Ningxi's number, there was no need to guess the result. After all, senior sister Jiang was already on the wanted list. It was impossible for her to use the previous phone number. 3 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Along the way, Tsing Hui clearly felt the deterioration of public security. Even though many cities had implemented military control and dealt with crimes extremely strictly, there were still many people who took the risk and broke the law unknowingly. Among them, the electromagnetic storm caused a lot of electrical equipment to be damaged and the decrease in surveillance. The other most important reason was the increase in the number of martial artists. It was no wonder that even at this time, the Earth Federation had not completely promoted martial arts education for all. Martial artists broke the law through martial arts. If everyone practiced martial arts, it would only lead to greater chaos before the Federation's control over the local areas reached an absolute level. These ferocious beasts, Lord, Great Lord, Disaster, Annihilation, Apocalypse. Through the comparison of data, Tsing Hui quickly had an intuitive understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of these ferocious beasts. Low-level ferocious beasts were comparable to mortals in the viscera refinement realm. However, due to the crystallization of Earth's technology, many alloy sabers and battle armors were forged. With the advantage of equipment, The martial Tao masters on Earth, who were equivalent to the marrow cleansing realm of the six mortal realms, should be able to fight low-level ferocious beasts. Further up were the intermediate, advanced, and Lord. The Lord was equivalent to a Class 2 ferocious beast on Tianwan continent, and so on. The Apocalypse was only at the level of a Class 6 ferocious beast. It was not strong, but the key problem was there were many of them. There are too many. In the past few years, humans have killed at least 800 million ferocious beasts. No wonder they started to let martial artists fight when the average level of martial artists was only equivalent to the martial Tao Grandmaster. The resources on Earth can't withstand such consumption. Xing Hui slowly put down the phone. At this time, Wu Fei also reminded him appropriately, "Young Master Su, the City Lord's courtyard is just ahead." Xing Hui nodded and returned the phone to Wu Fei. At the same time, he raised his head and looked at the LCD screen of a large shopping mall not far away. What was playing was the scene of Jiang Xingdao, a hero elected by the Federation government's Huaxia region, easily charging through many Lord and Great Lord-level ferocious beasts as if he was in a no-man's land. This scene greatly boosted the morale of humans. Many young people even stopped their hurried footsteps and stopped to watch under the screen. Each of them looked excited and their blood boiled. Finally, the scene changed to the registration channel for the army recruitment. Want to stand out? Want to cultivate high-rank martial arts? Want to become a top martial artist? Want to protect the country? Want to hold a saber and shed blood among the ferocious beasts? Then join the army. Are there not enough soldiers? Xing Hui asked in a low voice. Wu Fei was a little embarrassed and did not know how to answer. Over the years, humans have killed at least 800 million ferocious beasts, if not a billion. Then, what about the number of casualties? Why is there no report on the internet about the number of casualties of our human army? This, Wu Fei really did not know how to answer. Fortunately, Xing Hui did not ask any more questions after that. He looked at the blood-boiling scenes on the screen, but his heart could not calm down. In Heaven Wasteland Domain, he did not even blink when hundreds of thousands or millions of people died. After all, he did not have much of a sense of integration with Heaven Wasteland Domain, nor did he invest much emotion in it. Most of the time, when he was in Heaven Wasteland Domain, he only had the mentality of a stranger in a foreign land. Just like how would the people of China care about how many foreigners died in a war? But Earth was different. No matter how great his achievements were in Heaven Wasteland Domain, Earth was his root, the place where he was born. This feeling was completely different. Where there was peace of mind, that was his home. Chapter 704. The car entered the City Lord's compound after an inspection. Below a building, a middle-aged man who looked very dignified was slightly excited. He was already waiting there. When the car stopped, Wu Fei was the first to open the door. Then, Xing Hui pushed the door open and entered. After more than 10 years, Qin Yuming had aged a lot. Although he still looked energetic at the age of 56 and seemed to be in the most high-spirited period, he still couldn't hide his old age. Little Su. Seeing Xing Hui get out of the car, Qin Yuming could not help but take a few steps forward. Father. Xing Hui also lowered his head slightly. When he entered Berlin City, he had already controlled his muscles to adjust his appearance, so it was not impossible to recognize him. Good. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Qin Yuming's heart was stirred, but his father's dignity made him suppress his emotions. He only nodded his head heavily. Then, he turned his head and said to Wu Fei, "Little Wu, sorry to trouble you." "It's no trouble at all. It's my honor to know young Master Su," Wu Fei said and bowed respectfully. Then he said, "I still have things to deal with, so I won't delay the city lore any longer. I'll take my leave first." Qin Yuming did not say much, but it was obvious that he had remembered this matter. Wu Fei left with satisfaction, and Qin Yuming brought Xing Hui upstairs. What happened back then is in the past. Don't take it to heart. When the two of them were in the elevator, Qin Yuming said inexplicably. Xing Hui looked up. Did he forgive him for offending several important people to work together with the Danyang sword sect? Since you like that girl so much, bring her back. When will you hold a wedding and give her a status? Qing Yumming continued, as if he did not notice Tsing Hui's strange expression. In the end, he even asked, "Answer me honestly. Am I a grandfather now?" Feelings for more than 10 years. Qing Yumming thought that he and Jiang Ningji had been living a secret life after eloping. This matter is somewhat complicated, Tsing Hui replied, not knowing where to begin. It's okay. Take your time. If it's hard to say, it's fine if you don't want to say it. Just like I said earlier, let bygones be bygones. After Qing Yumming finished speaking, he took out the key and opened the door. It was a duplex with an area of more than 200 square meters. Considering Qing Yumming's position, it was neither good nor bad. Daddy, Daddy. As Tsing Hui finished changing his shoes and was about to enter, a cute little girl of about 6 or 7 years old ran out of the room. Seeing this little girl, Qing Yumming suddenly smiled and carried the little girl up. Xin, have you been good at home? You didn't give Sister Luo any trouble, right? Xin is so obedient. The little girl nodded vigorously. When Tsing Hui saw the conversation between Qing Yumming and the little girl, he seemed to have thought of something. His heart was suddenly filled with a feeling of surprise and joy. This is Tsing Hui asked. If he guessed correctly, his father was still young and vigorous. At this time, Qing Yumming seemed to realize that Tsing Hui was beside him. His expression was a little strange. After a while, he said, "This is your sister. Her name is Yusen." "My sister." Tsing Hui muttered these 2 words. An indescribable feeling of blood was thicker than water, which he had never felt before from Zhui Yunqing. Mommy is back. Daddy is back too. Xin is so happy. The little girl, Qing Yusen, said with joy on her cute little face. Mommy. Qing Yumming's expression stiffened slightly. Is Mommy at home too? Tsing Hui showed a trace of joy on his face and was about to walk into the room. But at this time, a young woman in her 30s walked out of the room. She was full of graceful and luxurious aura. Although this woman looked to be in her 30s, there were obvious traces of maintenance and makeup on her body. Her actual age should be much older than she looked. Yumming. The graceful woman nodded kindly to Qing Yumming. After a while, her gaze fell on Tsing Hui. "You're Tsing Hui, right? How about I call you Xiao Su like Yumming? Yumming has been nagging you all these years. Come in and have a seat." After saying that, she had already gracefully gestured with her hand. She looked just like the hostess. Tsing Hui looked at this woman but did not move. Instead, he turned his gaze and looked at Qing Yumming. Qing Yumming was obviously caught off guard by the sudden appearance of this woman. After a while, he introduced her. This is your Aunt Haidang. Where's my mother?" Tsing Hui did not comment. Qing Yumming's face showed a trace of pain. In these years, the world has changed a lot. You should know that 9 years ago, a space passage appeared in our Jade Sea province. It was less than 100 kilometers away from Puyang City. At that time, I urgently organized a retreat. At the same time, I ordered people to pick up your mother. But at that time, Puyang City was in chaos. Due to the interference of space, communication was not convenient. I waited for her for an hour, but she was still nowhere to be seen. "You retreated?" Tsing Hui's voice suddenly became hoarse. At this moment, his relaxed and joyful mood that was full of expectations suddenly shattered. It was as if something incomparably precious had left him forever. The kind of loss, the kind of helplessness, caused his heart to continuously fall again. It was as if he was about to fall into an endless abyss. Qing Yumming closed his eyes. His face was full of regret. I should have gone to pick her up personally." Tsing Hui was silent. It was so silent that it was almost suffocating. "Little Sue, don't blame your father. After all, no one would have expected such a thing to happen. And you, I heard from Yumming that you are also a warrior. If you hadn't left home and didn't return, you might have been able to protect your mother. Speaking of which, you also have some responsibility." Haitang, who was at the side, seemed to be defending her husband. She said lightly, "It's our family's matter. It's not up to you to interfere," Tsing Hui said coldly. His tone instantly made Haitang frown slightly. Xiao Su, I know that you are sad that your mother passed away, but this matter is not Yumming's fault. He is the mayor of Puyang City. At such a critical moment, he should have taken up the responsibility of a mayor and actively organized the evacuation of the citizens. Shut up. Sing Hui looked at the woman in front of him who had replaced his mother's position in the family and immediately scolded her. Wawa, seeing her mother quarreling with this strange big brother all of a sudden, Qing Yusin, who was originally smiling, seemed to have been frightened. She immediately burst into tears. Qing Yumming, who was already in a difficult position, immediately became anxious. He quickly comforted her. All right. Xin is a good girl. Xin is a big child now. Don't cry, don't cry. Yumming, you really need to teach your son well. He doesn't know how to be polite. Haidang said as she shook her head. She reached out and hugged Xin, comforting her gently. All right, you should stop talking. After all, it's the first time that we have met after so many years. You should be more polite, Qin Yumming said unhappily. When I found out that Sing Hui was coming back, I immediately put down the things on my hands just to see him. I wanted to build a good relationship with him so that it would not be difficult to get along with him. Isn't that polite enough? But looking at him now, where is his decency? No wonder he abandoned his family and ran away from home for more than 10 years. Stop talking, Qin Yumming shouted in a low voice. Haidang glanced at Qin Yumming and said indifferently, It's fine if you don't say it. I just hope that you don't make any wrong decisions because of your son. Our high family spent so much effort to push you to the position of City Lord of Ancient Jade City. Remember to weigh the pros and cons after saying that. Haitang glanced at Sing Hui again. She seemed to be too lazy to argue with him anymore. She carried Qing Yusin and went directly to her room. After Haitang left, the atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward. Qing Yumming looked at Qing Su and opened his mouth. He was about to say something, but at this moment, a rather anxious voice rang out from outside. City Lord, City Lord. Immediately after, a man dressed as a secretary quickly brought in a document. City Lord, there is news from the Donyang base. There was an anomaly in the space there 4 hours ago. It is suspected that a space channel has opened. The military hopes that you can immediately start organizing people and prepare to evacuate 8 million people in the 4 cities of Berlin, Grassy, Huachi, and Xi'an with a radius of 200 kilometers with Donyang Mountain as the center. There's a problem with the Donyang Space Channel. Hasn't it been peaceful there for more than 10 years? Qin Yumming didn't have time to talk to Sing Hui. He forced himself to get rid of the pain and entered into work mode. He took the document from the secretary. It has been peaceful for more than 10 years, but 4 hours ago, this anomaly was suddenly broken, and the man dressed as a secretary hesitated for a moment and said in a slightly suppressed tone, Moreover, the military base detected that a humanoid monster seemed to have descended to our Earth from that space channel. According to the strength data that the monster showed when it left, its energy level is very likely to exceed the highest level currently monitored, the apocalypse level. After the secretary finished speaking, Qin Yumming felt his breathing stagnate. After a while, he took a deep breath and growled, Beyond the apocalypse level? How is that possible? So far, no more than 10 apocalyptic level beasts have appeared, and they all appeared from the number 3 portal in North America and the number 4 portal in Antarctica. Now, you're telling me that there are beasts above the apocalyptic level in Donyang? City Lord, although I don't believe it, this news shouldn't be false. Dr. Luo Song, who is stationed there, speculated that the extraterrestrial civilization might be dissatisfied with the progress of the beast's advancement, so they sent a real leader to descend. This humanoid beast can hide itself, and it most likely has high intelligence. Chapter 705. A true leader. Qing Yumming, who was still entangled in family matters, suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He no longer cared about the matter of Sing Hui and Haidang. He shouted in a deep voice, Has it been reported? Is there any movement from the military? What about the Warrior Association? The Warrior Association occupies nearly 30% of the seats in the Glory Council. This is the time for them to show their glory. The military is mobilizing. The Warrior Association has already gone to communicate, but I'm afraid that the opening of the space channel this time is unusual. City Lord, the space channel of Mount Danyang is the first space channel in history. It is precisely because of the opening of the space channel of Mount Danyang that our civilization on Earth began to encounter this disaster. I will arrange it. Wait a minute. Humanoid beast? Mount Danyang? 4 hours ago. Hearing the conversation between the two, Xing Hui, who was in a bad mood, seemed to have thought of something and said, "Can you let me see the data you have monitored about the so-called beast?" "City Lord, this is my eldest son, Xing Hui." Qing Yuming sighed. "Xing Hui? Isn't he?" This man obviously knew Qing Yuming quite well, and he also understood what happened to him. He no longer spoke and turned his gaze to Qing Yuming. This seems to be against the rules. Qing Yuming seemed to feel guilty towards Xing Hui. After hesitating for a moment, he handed the information to Xing Hui. "Nothing you see is allowed to be leaked." "Okay." Xing Hui responded and took the information. Just as Xing Hui was flipping through the information, the elevator door opened again. The few people standing at the door suddenly saw a beautiful woman in her 20s walk out of the elevator. This woman was well-dressed. Her appearance was exquisite, and her skin was fair and tender. She wore platinum tassel earrings that sparkled with radiance. Her jet black hair fell from her ears all the way to her slender waist. Her legs were long and slender. Even though she wasn't wearing high heels, her tall and slender figure was still vividly displayed. No matter where she was, she would attract the gazes of countless young elites. However, seeing this woman at this time inexplicably made Qing Yuming's head hurt even more. The man dressed as a secretary next to him greeted, "Miss Haverhill." "Secretary General Zhang." The woman called Haverhill nodded slightly, then turned to Qing Yuming again and greeted him gently and politely, "Father." In the end, she turned to Xing Hui, who was flipping through the information, and extended her jade-like right. "Brother Xing Hui, right? I often hear my father mention you." "Hello, I'm Haverhill." Xing Hui's gaze moved away from the information in his hand and looked at Qing Yuming. "This is your Aunt Haitong's child. Back then, your Aunt Haitang brought Haverhill, who was 12 years old, to remarry me." Qing Yuming responded even more awkwardly. At the same time, he was a little angry at Haitong's actions. What was this? After knowing that her eldest son, Xing Hui, was coming back, she put down her work and rushed home to declare her sovereignty? Just because the Qing family declined in the catastrophe of Jade Sea Province. It was the Haitang and her turn to call the shots in this family. When Haverhill saw that her outstretched hand did not receive a response, she calmly withdrew her hand and stroked the hair that fell over her ears. "Brother Xing Hui, you're a little rude, but it's okay. After all, brother hasn't been home for a long time. If there's something you don't understand, I'll teach you." After that, she looked at Xing Hui and Qing Yuming, who were still standing at the door, and heard Qing Yusin's faint crying in the room. She seemed to have thought of something, but on the surface, she did not show it at all. Instead, she said, "Father, why are you all standing at the door? Come in and take a seat. And Secretary Zhang, please come in. Oh, and Brother Xing Hui, come in first. It doesn't matter if you change your shoes or not. Anyway, I'll let Aunt Luo mop the floor when the time comes. Just treat it like your own home." These words were natural and unrestrained, and there was nothing to nitpick about, but she still looked like the hostess. Xing Hui did not say anything else, but handed it back to Qing Yuming. "I might know what's going on in Danyang Mountain. You don't have to worry, there's no danger." "Huh." Xing Hui's words made Qing Yuming and the man dressed as a secretary look at him at the same time. Among them, Qing Yuming restrained the embarrassment on his face and sternly reprimanded. "Do you know what you're talking about? This is related to the safety of nearly 10 million people." "I know. This matter is not a child's play. Xing Hui, you have to be responsible for your own words. Otherwise, if something goes wrong," Qing Yuming said in a deep voice. Xing Hui shook his head. "There won't be any problems. However, considering that after he left Danyang Mountain more than 10 years ago, a space crack appeared and opened the prelude to the invasion of an extraterrestrial civilization. He said again, "If you're worried, I'll go and take a look." "You?" "No." Qing Yuming refused without the slightest hesitation. "That's where the spatial passageway number 1 is. Even though the spatial passageway number 1 has been peaceful for the past decade or so, no one knows when it will open again. I definitely won't allow you to approach that mountain range." Sing Hui looked at Qing Yuming. He understood that this was his father's concern for him. However, he looked at the beautiful Haverhill in front of him and heard Qing Yusin's cries and Haitong's comforting voice faintly coming from a room. This kind of concern made him feel a faint stab of pain in his heart. It wasn't strong, but it didn't stop. Little by little, it seemed like something was being dug out from his heart. "Father, I don't want your family to fall apart because of me. I'll go live outside." Sing Hui really didn't want to step into this unfamiliar house again. After saying that, he turned and walked outside. "Live outside? There's room at home. Why live outside?" Qing Yuming said in dissatisfaction. Hai Wire smiled as well. She did not mind Qing Su's lack of manners at all. She said in a gentle voice, "That's right, big brother Qing Su. You've come with great difficulty, so don't leave. Let's do our part as hosts. I'll get Ani Luo to prepare a room for you right now." The hospitality of a host. Yes, yes. At this moment, most of Qing Yuming's thoughts were focused on what Sing Hui had just said. Although he understood that Sing Hui was in a bad mood at the moment, and that it was inappropriate to talk to him about what he was going to do next, he still stepped forward and said, "Sing Hui, is what you said just now true? If so, I need you to cooperate with me and provide proof." Sing Hui looked at Qing Yuming. So the topic shifted to business just like that? Did his mother lose her life in that disaster because of his carelessness and his attitude back then? Suddenly, he felt a little sad. At this moment, he suddenly understood a song that was once very popular. "Father has a home, mother has a home. Leaving me alone seems to be unnecessary." But fortunately, he still understood that the reason why he had so many negative thoughts was because he suddenly heard that his mother had passed away and his father had been delayed by work. If he continued to be entangled with these emotions, he was worried that he would lose control and do something or say something that he would regret for the rest of his life. At this time, what he needed to do the most was to calm himself down. "Proof. I am the best proof. I will explain this misunderstanding to the local garrison in Mount Danyang. I will leave first." Sing Hui was worried that he would not be able to control his emotions and bring irreparable harm to his father's new family. At this time, he just wanted to leave. Or rather, escape. "You? How can you persuade them?" "I have my ways." "Xiao Su," Qing Yuming called out, unhappily. But at this moment, Haitong's grumbling voice came from the room. "Yuming, Xin has been crying nonstop. She usually listens to you the most and loves to play with you the most. Quickly come and coax her. If she continues crying like this, what if her body is hurt from crying? Also, did Wei Er come too? Let her entertain Sing Hui first." Qing Yuming frowned and looked at his eldest son who had run away from home for 13 years. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He also understood his son's character. He looked obedient on normal days, but once he set his mind on something, even Hydra couldn't pull him back. Hearing his youngest daughters crying and his wife shouting, Qing Yuming had to temporarily turn to Zhang Zhanhong. "Secretary Zhang, please help me take Sing Hui to my office. At the same time, help me understand the information Sing Hui has. I will be there in a while." Zhang Zhanhong also felt that it was best for Sing Hui to leave temporarily in this situation. He nodded and helped Sing Hui press the elevator button. "I forbid you to go to Mount Danyang," Qing Yuming said sternly to Sing Hui, then turned and entered the room. Seeing the elevator descend, Haidang smiled and nodded to Sing Hui. "Brother Sing Hui, father misses you very much. Come visit often when you have time. Oh, and next time, don't be so petty. It will only make your father feel embarrassed. Do you understand?" Sing Hui glanced at Haidang and didn't say anything. Then he retreated into the elevator. Ding! With a soft sound, the elevator door closed, isolating the two from each other's sight. Mr. Tsing Hui, please come with me. As the elevator descended to the first floor, Zhang Zhanhong gestured. No need. Tsing Hui lifted his leg and walked away. This, City Lord Qing asked me to take you to his office. As for that matter, I've said that I'll explain it to the local garrison. Mr. Tsing Hui, in fact, I think the City Lord should have believed your words. You know, the City Lord is very responsible. If he didn't believe you, he would have followed me to deal with this matter. How would he be in a mood to take care of the child at home? Even if it's not his office hours now, he is no exception. From this point, I can feel the City Lord's almost unreserved trust in you. Zhang Zhanhong said sincerely. Suddenly, Tsing Hui's footsteps paused. Mr. Tsing Hui, based on age, you should be 38 years old, right? Of course, Mr. Tsing Hui doesn't look that old at all. You give off the feeling that you're only 25 or 26 years old. Based on Mr. Tsing Hui's age and experience, do you really think it's appropriate for you to leave under such circumstances? Zhang Zhanhong continued. Seeing how Qing Su remained silent, he said sincerely, Mr. Qing Su, please take what I'm about to say as a joke. Don't take it to heart. In my humble opinion, the greatest sign of a man's maturity is learning to endure and compromise. Chapter 706. Endure and Compromise. A sliver of mockery appeared on Qing Su's face, to whom Zhang Zhanhong glanced at Tsing Hui and secretly shook his head. He only said this to Tsing Hui for the sake of Qin Yuming. If it weren't for Qin Yuming, he wouldn't have given him such advice. But now, it seemed that he didn't know what was good for him. He just smiled and didn't say anything else. He took Tsing Hui to the office building not far from this building. But after walking for a while, he found that Tsing Hui had turned around and was about to leave. Thinking of Qin Yuming's instructions, he had to catch up and say, Mr. Tsing Hui, over here. I'm going to solve the problem of Donyang Mountain. Tsing Hui said and strode out. Wait a minute. Zhang Zhanhong wanted to chase after him. But if Tsing Hui was determined to leave, how could Zhang Zhanhong stop him? In a few flashes, he had disappeared from Zhang Zhanhong's sight. Why did he leave so fast? Yes, according to my understanding, Tsing Hui, the son of Qin Yuming City Lord, joined a martial arts sect 13 years ago and earned the famous title of Sword Saint. Sword Saint is a title that can be compared to martial arts saint. Even if it was just a title that everyone gave him, now that 13 years have passed, who knows if he has lived up to his title? It's reasonable that I can't catch up with him. Thinking of this, Zhang Zhanhong couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. Mr. Tsing Hui seems to have reached the 5th stage of the martial Tao 10 years ago. I don't know how much he has grown in the past 10 years. It's fine if he's only a high-level dire beast comparable to martial arts saint, but it's bad if he's comparable to lord-level dire beasts. This kind of martial artist is already qualified to enter the Martial Arts Association and has a place in the Glory Association. In today's world, due to the formation of the Earth Federation, the power structure had undergone tremendous changes. The supreme leader was no longer the so-called president, king, and the like, but the speaker, deputy speaker, and a group of members of the Supreme Glory Council. The district heads of the 36 districts of the Federation were all elected by the Supreme Glory Council. The lower city lords and deputy city lords were elected by the lower-level Glory Council. The power to elect the city lords of the big cities was given to the local Glory Council. As for the city lords of small cities, they were appointed by the big cities and no longer had councils. It could be said that the Glory Council was now the most powerful organization. Even the military and the warrior association were restricted by the Glory Council. If one wanted to enter the local Glory Council, apart from the original nobles, the fastest way was to display the ability to kill lord-level dire beasts. As long as one could kill a lord-level dire beast with one's own ability, they would generally be accepted by the local Glory Council and become a member. Forget it, maybe I'm thinking too much. Currently, there are less than 100 lord-level members of the council in the entire ancient Jade City. Each of them has great influence in the local area, and is almost equivalent to a big shot in the national era. It's not so easy to meet one. Zhang Zhanhong shook his head and stopped thinking about it. In the end, it's different Sing Hui sat on the bus and looked at the environment of ancient Jade City through the bus. Due to the squeezing of human living space, the Huaxia district, which was already a large population, naturally became even more crowded. This was clearly reflected in the city's traffic. Fortunately, Sing Hui did not need to rush. The slow traffic was not a problem. Taking advantage of this time, he could better observe the changes in the city. Compared to 13 years ago, the city's business was sluggish, but overall, it was still as prosperous as before. However, other than the many shops, the largest number were the many martial arts centers. There were many types of martial arts centers and could almost be compared to the prosperous real estate industry of the past. Sing Hui sat on the bus for less than 5 kilometers and saw no less than 10 martial arts centers. Most of these martial arts centers were rented on the first floor, then rented a few suites on the second floor and connected them to become martial arts centers. As for the standards of the martial arts centers, there were different levels, but so far, the best was only at the martial down master level. He had not seen a single warrior saint. The bus soon arrived at the bus station. However, when he was about to buy a ticket to Berlin City, Sing Hui was faced with a serious problem. That was his identity card. After a moment of silence, Sing Hui turned and strode out of the city. When he reached the outskirts of the city, he stood on the road and waited quietly. When a sports car came roaring from the road in front of him, his eyes flashed. Don't forget, although he could not use his true chi now, and the Chaos Temple did not react at all, other than pure physical strength, he also had extremely powerful spiritual energy. Although his spiritual energy had not reached the level of those spiritual saints who could rely on their spiritual energy to kill a level 13 creature, it was more than enough to control some ordinary people. Under the effect of his spiritual energy, a young man driving the sports car was instantly hypnotized. He stopped the car directly in front of Sing Hui, then obediently got out of the car and ran to a patch of grass by the side of the road to fall asleep. It seems that the level 7 spiritual ability users of the Shaya Empire have the ability to hypnotize ordinary people. But it's a bit difficult for me to hypnotize an ordinary person. My precise control of spiritual energy is too poor. Sing Hui frowned, but he did not think too much about it. He got into the sports car and stepped on the accelerator to the maximum. Instantly, the sports car, which seemed to be a new brand, turned into a red stream of light and roared out. In a few breaths of time, it broke through 200 kilometers per hour. If it were not for the poor road conditions, it would not have been difficult to reach 300 kilometers per hour. Running on the road at 200 kilometers per hour would obviously attract the pursuit of the Highway Enforcement Department. But unfortunately, Ching Su was just too fast. Coupled with the fact that he could easily monitor a radius of around 10 kilometers with his mental strength, avoiding the pursuit was a piece of cake. Relying on this speed, Sing Hui shortened the 3-hour journey to Berlin to 1 hour. He drove the car directly to the military base 100 kilometers away from Mount Danyang. When he arrived at the military base, he stopped the car and suddenly sped up, breaking the sound barrier in an instant. Accompanied by a terrifying sonic boom, he sped toward Danyang Mountain at full speed. His speed was many times faster than driving a car. The 100-kilometer radius around Mount Danyang was a military-restricted area. There were no civilians, so Sing Hui naturally had no scruples. In addition, he came here to prove to the people of the military base that he was the leader-level humanoid dire beast that could bring great danger. Naturally, he would not hide anything. As he ran at full speed, thunderous booms rang out, and the distance between him and Danyang Mountain was constantly shortened. At the same time, the military base stationed in this area immediately sounded the alarm. Countless soldiers and even warriors rushed out and quickly went to their posts to prepare for battle. Quick, 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 lock onto the target. Lock onto the target. The target is too fast, and it's too small. Can you be sure? Is this the suspected leader-level creature that ran out of Mount Danyang? Collect its data. This is the first leader-level dire beast to appear. It's rushing in the direction of Mount Danyang. What does it want to do? Does it want to reopen the space passage on Mount Danyang? Our world can no longer bear the loss of the space passage's continuous opening. Pass down my order. Tornado position, fire the cannons, and bombard it. One by one, the orders were mixed in the crowd. Following this order, a total of 60 Tornado multi-barreled rocket launchers fired at the same time. This new rocket launcher, which was improved in 1928, had a caliber of 400 millimeters. There were 16 directional tubes, and the firing interval was shortened to less than 2 seconds. It was equipped with a new Z1 sight and a PG-13 fire control system. Once it was activated, the rocket launchers with a diameter of more than 2 meters formed a dense storm. With blazing flames, they went straight for the terrifying figure that was rushing toward Mount Danyang. In an instant, sparks flew everywhere, and explosions roared. The linear area centered on the direction that the figure was running in was directly submerged in a blazing sea of fire. The huge explosion and the soaring flames could be clearly seen from the base dozens of kilometers away. Before the commander who gave the order had time to ask about the situation of the target, the observer had already passed on the message. There was a faint trace of fear in his voice. The target is still alive. The target is still alive. Damn it. Metal hydrogen bombs, fuel air explosives, what are we waiting for? We can't let him reopen the space passage on Mount Danyang. Otherwise, when all the dire beasts in the space passage rush out, we won't even have a chance to retreat under the interference of the space fluctuations. The base commander gave the order to attack again. Under these orders, Sing Hui's following path could be described as wind and fire. There was no peace along the way. However, in order to prove that he was the leader-level dire beast, he did not deliberately avoid them. Maintaining a speed of about 1,500 kilometers per hour, he quickly crossed the distance of 100 kilometers and arrived at the area of Mount Danyang that had been turned into a wasteland by the space distortion. Although I'm not at the vacuum-crushing realm, nor am I at the profound void realm, I have some understanding of the law of space. There are no space fluctuations here. It seems that the space fluctuations they observed were indeed caused by me teleporting here. Sing Hui stood at the foot of Mount Danyang, constantly sizing up the area. Behind him, rocket launchers came crashing down like a storm, setting off bursts of flames and heat waves that soared into the sky. This is almost enough to prove that I'm the leader-level dire beast they mentioned. Next, we can have a good talk. There's an observation station 30 kilometers away that has been observing Mount Danyang. I'll go there and wait for them to come over. At the same time, I'll see if I can get some useful information. Sing Hui bent his body slightly and exerted force on his feet. His whole body was like a cannonball that had just been fired. In an instant, he broke the sound barrier again and rushed toward the observation station 30 kilometers away with a terrifying atmospheric shock. Wherever his figure passed, the vegetation below seemed to be swept away by a hurricane, turning into a mess. Chapter 707. Oh my God, why does this monster look like it hasn't suffered any damage? What kind of monster is this? The previous dire beasts, even the apocalyptic dire beasts, would be injured and bleed under our attacks. At best, it's because they have amazing vitality and are difficult to kill. This monster doesn't look big, so why is it so tenacious? Is this the level of a leader-level monster? Not good. It's rushing to the observation station. Dr. Luo's song is at the observation station. He hasn't had time to evacuate yet. Stop it! Stop this monster! Screams resounded throughout the military base. All the officers present did not expect that a leader-level monster would cause them so much trouble. So far, they had poured thousands of tons of ammunition on the leader-level monster, but the monster was still unscathed. It's over, that monster, it has reached the observation station. Wait a minute, that monster is slowed down. We can capture its image. It seems, this is impossible. What's going on? The image of this leader-level monster, when the image of the monster was finally displayed in the command room, everyone in the command room suddenly became silent. At the observation station, when Dr. Luo Song and his group learned that the monster was rushing towards them at a speed of nearly 1,500 kilometers per hour, They already knew that they could not escape. Mount Danyang was only 30 kilometers away from their observation station. In other words, it would only take a minute for the monster to arrive. In particular, the monsters seemed to have the ability to fly, which made them feel even more hopeless. As a result, Dr. Luo Song and the others could only choose to hide in an underground bunker to avoid this fatal disaster. However, when Dr. Luo Song and his group hid in the underground bunker, they were somewhat surprised to find that there did not seem to be a fierce battle happening above. At least, they did not hear the deafening roar when they reached the underground bunker. That monster has left. Dr. Luo Song was stunned. Doctor, you hide here, I'll go out and take a look. A platoon leader in charge of the safety of Dr. Luo Song and his group said, and quickly climbed up. Then, the platoon leader's somewhat strange voice came from the walkie-talkie. Doctor, above, should be fine. Also, that sir wants to see you. Sir? Luo Song heard the strange voice of the platoon leader on top of him. Although he felt it was strange, out of his trust in them, he quickly came out and climbed up. In the room above the bunker, there wasn't much damage. The platoon leader who came up first was standing beside a man wearing ancient clothes. He wanted to point his gun at him, but he didn't seem to have the courage to do so. He could only point it at a 45-degree angle to the ground. Comrade Tian Sheng, where is that leader-tier monster? Have they left? Luo Song asked. When platoon leader Tian Sheng heard Luo Song's words, he glanced at the strange man beside him. At this moment, Tian Sheng's phone suddenly rang. The sound immediately made him look at the mysterious man. When he saw that the mysterious man was ignoring him, he picked up the phone. As soon as the call connected, he immediately stood at attention. Hello, Chief. Then he said, we're fine. Yes. It should be a misunderstanding. Yes. We await your arrival, Chief. After Tian Sheng finished the call, the mysterious man moved a monitor in the direction of Dr. Luo Song and said, Hello, Dr. Luo Song. I'm interested in the data you've observed over the years. Can you tell me about it? The mysterious man in the eyes of Tian Sheng and the others was naturally Tsing Hui, who rushed over from Mount Danyang. Who are you? I need to know if you have authorization. Dr. Luo Song said in a deep voice. Who am I? Didn't you observe my existence not long ago? Just now, you've been paying attention to my movements. And because of my arrival, you even mobilized a lot of people. Tsing Hui said calmly. Observed your existence. Dr. Luo Song seemed to understand something when he heard it. His face suddenly changed. You're the leader-tier monster that came out of the number 1 space channel at noon. You can actually transform into a human and learn the human language. No, you're a human? I'm a human. Tsing Hui nodded. After receiving his approval, Dr. Luo Song immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. Then his eyes lit up as he stared at Tsing Hui in disbelief. A human warrior? A human warrior that's above the apocalypse-level dire beasts. You can understand it that way, Tsing Hui said and glanced outside. Outside this small observation station, there were already more than a dozen armored vehicles at this moment. Soon, more than a dozen officers and dozens of sergeants jumped out of the vehicles. It's Commander Xia, Councilman Bei, Councilman Huang, and Commander Long. Seeing the 4 leaders of the dozen officers, Dr. Luo Song immediately called out their names. These people were all famous big shots in the nearby bases. Among them, Bei Tongtian and Huang Yuxuan were top powerhouses who could fight against great lord-level dire beasts. They could take on a modern mechanical regiment alone. After these people rushed into the room, their eyes immediately fell on Tsing Hui and kept sizing him up. After a while, Bei Tongtian, the vice president of the Warrior Association branch, spoke first. Wait a minute. Your appearance. At the next moment, he seemed to have thought of something, and there was a look of disbelief in his eyes. Due to the fact that the guess in his mind was too shocking, he had no choice but to lower his voice and ask carefully, Sword Sage, Tsing Hui, you recognize me? Tsing Hui asked. His words were undoubtedly an admission of his identity. All of a sudden, the big shots who entered the room all heaved a sigh of relief. Among them, Bei Tongtian even said with a somewhat fanatical expression, "I'm the sect master of the White Sand Clan." White Sand Clan. Tsing Hui recalled and vaguely remembered it. It was a famous sect in Beijiang province that was even stronger than the Danyang Sword sect. When the Danyang Sword sect was destroyed, it was said that there was already a guru in the sect, but he didn't know if it was true or not. Tsing Hui? In that case, he's really a human? Xia Qiyin asked Commander Xia. Yes, a human, a genuine human. Bei Tongtian said confidently. Huang Yuxuan, who was at the side, also nodded. Sword Sage Tsing Hui's name was well known more than 10 years ago. He once defeated 10 martial Dao masters in a row with one sword. At that time, he was only 23 or 24 years old. Rumor has it that he already has strength that is not inferior to a martial Dao guru. It's only a matter of time before he becomes a martial sage. Hence, he's known as the Sword Sage. Human? Humans are good. Humans are good. Ha ha. Good. I didn't expect such an amazing powerhouse to be born among us humans. Commander Long, who was at the side, immediately burst into laughter. When Bei Tongtian and Huang Yuxuan thought of the terrifying cultivation level that Tsing Hui displayed just now, their expressions changed. Bei Tongtian, who was a little anxious, couldn't wait to ask Sword Sage Tsing Hui. Just now, I know that you think I'm an unknown leader-level dire beast. In order to clear up the misunderstanding, I came here. But in order to prevent you from doubting me, I didn't tell you beforehand. I think that although my way of clearing up the misunderstanding is a waste of ammunition, it's much more credible than empty words. Haha, it's not a waste, not a waste. If we can use this ammunition to exchange for a human martial artist whose energy rank surpasses that of an apocalyptic-level beast, it's worth it even if we have to spend 10 times or 100 times more ammunition. Ha! Xia Qian laughed in a good mood. Report this to the higher-ups, lest they think that the spatial passage to Mount Donyang has opened here and cause a big fuss. Tsing Hui said. This was the purpose of his visit. Understood, understood. Sword Sage Tsing Hui, how did you cultivate? At present, even those reclusive martial sages who rely on scientific methods to refine the nutrients from dire beasts can only reach the level of a disaster-level dire beast. However, the strength you've displayed these 2 times, I'm afraid that you've already surpassed that of an apocalyptic-level dire beast, right? My God, breaking the sound barrier with your physical body, this... Can a martial artist really cultivate to this level? Bei Tongtian asked. Huang Yuxuan, Xia Qiyin, and Commander Long were not the only ones who wanted to know the answer to this question. Even Dr. Luo Song and the graduate students who came with Dr. Luo Song were full of anticipation. If you continue to cultivate, you'll naturally be able to reach that level. The potential in the human body is endless. Tsing Hui said, can you really reach that level? Breaking the sound barrier with your physical body? How can human cells withstand such a powerful force? Dr. Luo Song muttered to himself. Doctor, there's no need to doubt it. Sword Sage Tsing Hui is the best example. Huang Yuxuan said. After that, he turned to Tsing Hui and said solemnly, Tsing Hui, your appearance can be said to have opened a new milestone for martial artists, turning a new page in Earth's martial arts world. I seriously invite you to join our Martial Arts Association. I will contact the General Headquarters. I believe that the General Headquarters will definitely not be stingy in giving you, a martial arts miracle, the position of honorary president. Hearing Huang Yuxuan's words, Commander Long's expression changed. He immediately reacted and hurriedly said, Sword Sage Tsing Hui, at present, Earth is surrounded by crises. The extraterrestrial civilization is eyeing us covetously and constantly sending waves of powerful dire beasts to invade our world. The military department is in a critical period of need for manpower. I hope you can join the military department to protect the country and contribute your strength for the prosperity and stability of Earth. Please rest assured, I will report this to our Huaxia region marshal and at least get you the rank of Major General. Moreover, with your ability As long as you make contributions, it will be easy for you to become a lieutenant general or general in the future. Sing Hui was silent. In today's world, dire beasts were showing their might. Civil officials, such as the city lord, deputy city lord, and secretary were no longer as prosperous as before. The real power was the military department and the martial arts association. Although the current Glory Council was still divided into civil officials, the military department, and the martial arts association, the strongest power was still the military department. However, as the cultivation of martial artists became stronger, the martial arts association would gradually catch up and be on par with the military department. It could be said that it had the greatest potential. The martial artists under the military management lost their spirituality, and it was difficult for them to reach the peak. I want to find a person. The military department and the martial arts association, whoever can find her for me first, I will join their camp. Chapter 708. Sir, you have to take a look at this. The capital of the Huaxia region. In the Grand Governor's office, a middle-aged man wearing glasses quickly ran in. He ignored the special environment where the 6 city lords, deputy city lords, and members of the Supreme Glory Council were having a closed-door meeting. He directly placed a document in front of Grand Governor LV Hunyuan. LV Hunyuan clearly understood that his secretary would not disturb him unless it was a particularly important matter. He gestured to the 6 members of the Supreme Glory Council below, quickly picked up the document, and carefully flipped through it. When he flipped through half of the document, his expression changed. When he suppressed the shock in his heart and finished reading the document, his eyes were already filled with uncontrollable shock. This is true. It's absolutely true, the secretary said solemnly. A martial artist can actually reach this level. LV Zhongyuan took a deep breath. After a while, he said solemnly, "Has the think tank figured out a way to deal with it? We must have such an amazing master in our hands to ensure stability. Only with him can we have the confidence to deal with the increasingly powerful military department and the martial arts association. This is the plan given by the think tank. We can start from 4 aspects. The first is related to his father, Qin Yuming. Qin Yuming is currently the deputy city lord of our Huaxiao region's ancient Jade City. The second is related to the Huang family and the Yi family. The secretary quickly flipped through a few pages of the document and marked out the feasible plans one by one. LV Zhongyuan looked at it for a moment, then waved his hand and said, "Prepare to do it. At the same time, find his contact information for me. No, personally go over on my behalf and invite him to the capital for a gathering. As long as it's not too excessive, agree to any requests first." "Yes, Your Excellency, Grand Governor." The secretary quickly left after receiving the order. LV Zhongyuan immediately turned to the city lords, deputy city lords, and members of the Supreme Glory Council below who were looking at each other. "Everyone, we need to hold a video conference. Marshal, this is the latest information from Mount Donyang, Jade Sea Fortress, one of the most powerful military garrisons in the Huaxia region." At this time, a middle-aged man wearing a gold star broke into a screening room in the command center. He immediately placed a document in front of Marshal Jiang Kunlun, who was watching a large-scale battle. "Information from Mount Donyang? Is it related to that leader-class dire beast whose energy rank is suspected to be above apocalypse level?" Jiang Kunlun's eyes shifted away from the battle in the theater. He picked up the information and looked at it for a moment. His face suddenly became serious. Not a dire beast? Was it human? Sword Saint Xinghui. After saying that, his gaze immediately turned to the man beside him, who was practically a legend in the publicity department. "Third brother, have you heard of this person? Sword Saint Xinghui." This legendary man was none other than Jiang Xingdao, the legendary martial sage who had killed a disaster-level ferocious beast a month ago and almost became the greatest hero in the entire Huaxia region. When he heard Jiang Kunlun's question, he tilted his head slightly. More than 10 years ago, this young man was amazing. It is said that he was only 23 years old at that time, and he had already defeated 10 martial Dao masters with one sword. His combat strength was not weaker than a grandmaster. However, 13 years ago, he seemed to have accidentally offended some powerful people and disappeared. Why did he appear again? 13 years have passed. I don't know how much this young man has improved. Jiang Kunlun's expression was a little strange. After a while, he handed the information to Jiang Xingdao. Third brother, take a look at it yourself. There are military experts' estimates of his strength. Jiang Xingdao was calm and steady. He casually took the information and looked at it slowly. When he saw the military experts' estimates of a young sword saint's strength, he was slightly startled at first. Then he could not help but shout, "This is impossible!" This loud shout rang out in the theater, and many outstanding military officers and martial arts students immediately turned their gazes in his direction. All of them were filled with admiration, reverence, and curiosity at the same time. It was as if they wanted to know what had happened to make Jiang Xingdao, a legendary martial saint, lose his composure like this. Second brother, is the assessment of this information true? Could someone really reach this level? Xiao Qian personally tested it with nearly 10,000 tons of artillery shells. How can it be wrong? Jiang Xingdao, who was almost regarded as a supreme expert by the legends, could not help but gasp. This Xing Hui has already shown his monstrous talent 13 years ago. Now that 13 years have passed, he can actually grow to this level. Incredible, incredible. Third brother, look at the description in this note. This Xing Hui is suspected to have appeared from a space channel. Maybe he is related to an extraterrestrial civilization? Extraterrestrial civilization? I know what you want to say, second brother. But with the strength he has shown now, as long as he still recognizes his identity as a human, I believe that everyone will overlook this detail and think of ways to rope him in and pull him onto their worship. After Jiang Xingdao finished speaking, he could not wait any longer. No, I need to see him. I need to see him personally. It would be best if third brother is willing to go. I'll get someone to arrange it and send you there in a fighter jet. President, something big has happened. Something big has happened. Sword Saint Xing Hui, a disciple of the Danyang sword sect who disappeared 13 years ago, has returned. He has shown incredible strength and is suspected to have surpassed that of an apocalypse-level dire beast. The Martial Artist Association headquarters was also in a state of chaos. The Martial Artist Association had been established hundreds of years ago. However, due to the rapid development of technology and the continuous increase of the country's power, the Martial Artist Association had almost become a thing of a name more than 10 years ago. The people who were in charge of the Martial Artist Association were all thinking of ways to curry favor with the rich and powerful. Fortunately, the ferocious beast had appeared on Earth this time. Most importantly, the ferocious beast's flesh and blood were rich in nutrients. Consuming the ferocious beast's flesh and blood could greatly enhance a martial artist's physique and potential. This allowed these martial artists to break through to the Grandmaster, Martial Saint, and even the equivalent of Lord and Great Lord ranks more easily. With the rise of one peak martial artist after another, the Martial Artist Association's influence on Earth grew. 3 years ago, when the Martial Artist Association gained the right to recommend members to the Glory Council, its reputation soared to unprecedented heights. Fortunately, the people in power knew very well that the foundation of the Martial Artists Association was those powerful warriors. If those powerful warriors did not recognize the Martial Artists Association, the Martial Artists Association would only be an empty shell. Under such circumstances, when they learned that a terrifying warrior suspected to have surpassed the apocalypse-level dire beast appeared on Danyang Mountain, the entire Martial Artist Association was naturally in an uproar. Go to Danyang Mountain immediately. Use all means to pull Sword Saint Xing Hui into our Martial Artist Association. The current president of the Martial Artist Association, Ran Donglai, said to the vice president, Sima Xing, who had brought the news. As early as more than 10 years ago, he was the sect master of the true martial sect, a top sect in the martial arts world. Although his cultivation had not yet reached the level of a disaster-level dire beast like Jiang Xingdao, the great lord-level dire beast he had killed with his own hands had reached the level of Hydra. However, the closer he got to the lord-level and disaster-level dire beasts, the more difficult it was for him to cultivate further. According to his speculation, when their combat power reached the level of a disaster-level dire beast, he was afraid that only by eating the flesh and blood essence of an apocalypse-level dire beast would they have any hope of improving. Under such circumstances, he was naturally shocked to learn that Xing Hui was a terrifying existence that defied common sense. Sword Saint Xing Hui is very important to us. Although the current warriors are tyrannical and can fight against disaster-level dire beasts, they are still powerless against a modern steel army. If it weren't for the great impact of the modern machinery in the territory under the interference of space fluctuations, the federal government and the military department wouldn't have allowed us to occupy so many seats in the Glory Parliament. Like now, the proportion of our Martial Artist Association members in the local Glory Parliament is relatively high, but in the Supreme Parliament, the proportion of warriors is less than 1/10. But if we can get the secrets above the apocalypse level from Sword Saint Xing Hui, and thus have the combat power comparable to an apocalypse-level dire beast, the entire Earth Federation will probably follow the will of our Martial Artist Association. President, I think the same. Sword Saint Xing Hui is indeed very important to us warriors. His existence is even related to whether we warriors have the hope of surpassing the federal government and the military department in the future. As Sima Xing spoke, he flipped to the last page of the information in his hand. President, please take a look. This is Sword Saint Xing Hui's request to join. He wants to find a woman named Jiang Ningji. Whoever can find her will have the upper hand in recruiting Sword Saint Xing Hui. Jiang Ningji? Then what are we waiting for? Search with all our might. Ran Donglai ordered without hesitation. Then, as if he had thought of something, he said, I seem to have some impression of this name. This Jiang Ningji is a disciple left behind by the Danyang sword sect. She was once wanted because she offended the nobles. That day, in the battle to destroy the Danyang sword sect, the Danyang sword sect changed, causing the deaths of several nobles on Danyang Mountain. Hundreds of elite soldiers died along with the distortion of space, causing the country to be furious and begin to suppress our Martial Artist Association. If it weren't for the Dire Beast incident, I'm afraid it's unknown whether our Martial Artist Association would still be alive. That incident, after being reminded by Sima Xing, Ran Donglai recalled it. His expression gradually turned cold. Strictly speaking, that incident wasn't the fault of the Danyang sword sect disciples. However, the situation at that time was stronger than the people, so we had to sit back and watch the Danyang sword sect be destroyed. But now, at this point, he already had the idea of befriending Sword Saint Xing Hui. Are the Yi family and the Huang family still around? Yes, the Huang family is slightly worse. Currently, they only have a deputy city lord of a large city. The rest of the positions are lower. They are either the city lords of small cities or the secretaries of large cities. However, the eldest brother of the Yi family's Yi Qingsong, Yi Qingyun, is now the city lord of Whitestone City. He is also a member of the Huaxiao region's Glory Council. He is one of the hundreds of people with the most power in our Huaxiao region. In the future, he is expected to be promoted to become a deputy city lord of a main city. Power? Times are different now. Back then, Yi Qingsong was able to force our Martial Artist Association to back down, but now, at this point, murderous intent flashed in Ran Donglai's eyes. The Danyang sword sect was persecuted by the Yi family and the Huang family. Today, our Martial Artist Association will uphold justice for the Danyang sword sect and wash away the injustice of the Danyang sword sect. I want to see who dares to stop me. The third chapter will be available later. Why do you want to update? Fine, there's no reason. Chapter 709, Ancient Jade City. City Lord's Office. At this moment, A man who looked to be in his 50s and was filled with a dignified aura leaned back on the sofa. He looked at ancient Jade City's vice city, Lord Hunyuan, who was slightly respectful but did not lose his bearing, and said with a sincere and heartfelt tone, "Yumming, regarding your competition for the vacant position of ancient Jade City's fourth chairman, there have been some changes in this matter. A great figure from the Huaxiao Parliament has interfered, and he wants a junior from his family to be sent to your ancient Jade City. Although I am the Vice City Lord of Ecliptic City, and I govern 9 major cities, including ancient Jade City, this matter is truly difficult to handle. For the position of Vice Chairman, it isn't worth making such a big fuss. Brother Mingwei, I'm not trying to pursue anything. It's just that although I'm a Deputy City Lord with the title of City Lord, and am a member of the local parliament, if I don't even have the right to propose personnel appointments and removals in the parliament, it's really difficult to carry out my work. Many of my capable, energetic, and motivated young people have clearly worked hard for the development of ancient Jade City and made many outstanding achievements. However, because I'm not the chairman or deputy chairman, I can't nominate them for promotion, causing their hearts to scatter. This team is really difficult to lead," Qin Yiming said with a heavy expression. The local parliament is different from the high-level parliament. Generally, there are only 1 chairman and 4 deputies. Among these 4 chairmen, the first chairman is usually elected from the city lord, the military department, and the warrior association. In other words, these 3 families have to occupy at least 1 chairman position. There are only 2 chairman positions left, and there are 6 deputy city lords in ancient Jade City. Although your performance in the past few years has been outstanding, it's not easy to stand out among the 6 deputy city lords, in addition to the high-level parliament. Sigh, I can only try my best to think of a way. The man called Mingwei had a difficult expression. The appointments of many officials of a city's departments, divisions, and bureaus, including the military generals, were all made through the local glory parliament. The councillors only had the right to vote, the 5 chairmen had the right to nominate, and the first chairman had the right to veto. However, this power could only be used 3 times in a term, but with the deterrence of the veto, the first chairman was still worthy of being called the number 1 person in the city where the parliament was located. Although Qin Yiming was the vice city lord, he didn't even have the right to nominate people in the Glory Council. His subordinates were diligent in their work, but he couldn't promise them a future. Naturally, it was difficult for him to convince the masses. If he didn't have any other thoughts, he would naturally choose to side with one of the speakers. But he, Qin Yiming, clearly had great ambitions and wanted to make a name for himself. Thus, it was imperative for him to become the chairman of ancient Jade City's Glory Council. Otherwise, how could he make his subordinates work for him willingly? Yiming, you don't have to be anxious. There are always more ways than difficulties. Our fair family is also one of the top clans in the Huaxiao region. Currently, our eldest brother has even entered the upper echelons of the Huaxiao region, becoming a counselor-level figure. That influence is extraordinary. As Hai Mingwei spoke, he looked at Qin Yiming meaningfully. Qin Yiming was silent. The Hai family didn't want to see him stand on his own. Instead, they wholeheartedly wanted to tie him to the Hai family's war chariot. By the way, Yiming, I heard that the son you had with your ex-wife, the one called Xing Hui, is back? Hai Mingwei suddenly said. Qin Yiming's heart trembled. He didn't think that even the second in command of the Hai family, Hai Mingwei, would know about this matter. Yes, he's back. And it's good that he's back. It's good that he's back. Even though he ran away from home for more than 10 years. Now that he's back, it can be considered that you and your son have been reunited. However, Yiming, I still hope that you can distinguish between what's important and what's not. After all, you're now the son-in-law of our Hai family, and also my 5th sister's husband. The reunion of you and your son is naturally worth celebrating, but don't destroy the harmony of your family because of this. Do you understand? When Qin Yiming heard this, he finally understood the true purpose of this brother-in-law of his seeing him today. Furthermore, he also understood the reason why the matter of him being promoted to the position of the 5th chairman had suddenly become complicated. For a moment, his throat couldn't help but become somewhat dry. After a while, he restrained his thoughts and said in a deep voice, "I will try my best to handle the relationship between little Sue and Wei Wei." Hai Mingwei's figure slightly leaned forward as he looked at Qin Yuming in front of him. His tone was still sincere and earnest, but his voice was clearly fainter. "You're still young, not even 60 yet. You're at the peak of your political career. Furthermore, you're also very capable and have a very long road to walk in the future. I don't wish for you to delay your work because of the trivial matters of your family. Now, isn't Sing Hui living outside? I feel that this is very good. He's already an adult, so I'm afraid that he's already settled down and started a family, right? Then as his father, you should let him go and let him go on his own. Don't always bring him around like a child. What do you think?" Qin Yuming was silent for a moment as he recalled the bits and pieces of meeting Tsing Hui yesterday, as well as some memories of Tsing Hui's childhood. In the end, he slowly said, "It's not that there's no place to stay at home. As a family, it's better to live together and be lively. However, I will respect little Sue's own choice." Hai Mingwei looked at Qin Yuming, and his expression couldn't help but become colder. "Is that so? I hope you can handle the relationship between you and your father well." "That's right. I need to go to the capital for a meeting during this period of time. I'm afraid that I won't be in the Ecliptic Palace main city for a short period of time. Thus, if there's nothing important, don't run to the Ecliptic Palace main city often." The election for the fifth chairman was in these few days, and as his most powerful right-hand man, Hai Mingwei, had to go to the capital, Qin Yuming instantly understood Hai Mingwei's meaning. However, he didn't feel any regret for what he had done. Dong dong. At this moment, a series of knocks came from outside Qin Yuming's office. Qin Yuming frowned. Didn't he tell him that he was in the middle of a reception and not to disturb him at this time? When Hai Mingwei saw that someone had disturbed the atmosphere he had created, he was somewhat displeased. He directly stood up. "All right, it's getting late. Haiding has already booked a private room at the Cloud Sea restaurant. She has invited a few other cousins from ancient Jade City, as well as a few juniors from the family. Don't forget to come over for a meal after you get off work. After eating, I'll prepare to go directly to the capital." "Yes, I'll definitely send you off when the time comes." Qin Yuming stood up. When he heard that the guests were basically the Hai family's cousins, he had already faintly guessed what these people would say next. This gathering might turn into a meeting of criticism towards him, Qin Yuming, in the later stages. Dong, dong, dong. At this moment, the knocks on the door sounded again. "This assistant of yours, you need a change." Hai Mingwei looked at the urgent knocks on the door and sneered as he shook his head. It was as if he was saying that Qin Yuming's judgment was poor. There should be something important. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so rude. "Big brother, I'll send you off first." As Qin Yuming spoke, he had already stepped forward to open the door. Outside the door, there was a man in his 30s waiting. When he saw Qin Yuming open the door, he was about to speak. But before he could speak, Qin Yuming had already lowered his voice and said, "What happened? City Lord?" As the man spoke, he gave a meaningful glance to the three people who were chatting on the side and walking in this direction. Seeing the three people not far away, Qin Yuming was slightly startled. "City Lord Feng? Speaker Ning?" At this moment, the one who was walking over was the City Lord of Guyu City, Feng Pingping, and the first speaker of the local Glory Council, Ning Ziwu. Now these two big shots had arrived at the same time, and looking at the two of them, it seemed that they were accompanying another woman in her 40s who was full of mature aura. Qin Yuming was about to step forward to greet them. Hai Mingwei, who was about to leave with Qin Yuming, could not help but exclaim after seeing the woman in the middle, "Counselor Guan, why are you here?" While speaking, he had already taken the lead to pass Qin Yuming and went to shake hands with the woman called Counselor Guan with enthusiasm. "Hello, Counselor Guan. I'm Hai Mingwei of the Ecliptic Main City. My brother, Hai Dongsheng, often mentions you in front of me." Counselor Guan. Qin Yuming saw Hai Mingwei's attitude, and then associated this Counselor Guan's somewhat familiar appearance. He immediately thought of something. Counselor Guan Ruofei. This was a counselor-level figure in the Huaxiao region's high-level council, and ranked among the top 300 counselors in the Huaxia region's high-level council. Her influence was amazing. It was even rumored that she was the current great governor of the Huaxia region and was also a direct subordinate of LV Hunyuan, the speaker of the Glory Council of the Huaxia region. She was deeply trusted by the great governor and the first speaker. "Hello, City Lord Hai." Guan Ruofei smiled and nodded at Hai Mingwei. Although Hai Mingwei was a deputy city lord of the main city and was still 1 or 2 steps away from entering the high-level council, she called out Hai Mingwei's position at the first moment. Obviously, she knew him. This scene caused Hai Mingwei to faintly feel a sense of being overwhelmed by favor. Guan Ruofei greeted Hai Mingwei, and while he was still in a daze, she had already arrived in front of Qin Yuming. She said with a smile, "This must be City Lord Qin Yuming." "Qin Yuming?" "City Lord Qin is young and promising, and all of us have seen your excellent political achievements in ancient Jade City over the years. You have been greatly praised, and I've come especially for you." Qin Yuming was shocked to hear that such a big shot like Guan Ruofei had come especially for him, but he still hurriedly stepped forward to shake hands. "Councillor Guan, hello. I'm very happy to have received the recognition of Councillor Guan and all the other leaders. All of this is because of the city lord and the speaker's leadership. I, Qin Yuming, dare not take the credit. Haha, what's yours is naturally yours. No one can take it away from you," Guan Ruofei said with a smile. At the same time, he said to the first speaker, "Ning Ziwu, Speaker Ning, it shouldn't be a problem to disclose that information in advance, right? It's okay, of course it's okay. The appointment will be announced in 3 days anyway." Ning Ziwu responded quickly, and, at the same time, said to Qin Yuming with a smile, "Yuming, after my discussion with City Lord Feng and several other speakers, as well as the suggestions of the higher-ups, we have decided to approve your application and invite you to be the deputy speaker of the ancient Jade City Glory Council. Congratulations, Speaker Qin Yuming." I passed. Qin Yuming, who had almost given up on the 5th speaker because of Hai Mingwei's antics, was suddenly shocked when he heard the news. For outstanding talents, our local councils, and even the high-level councils, naturally have to vigorously explore and entrust them with important tasks. Only in this way can they serve the public more wholeheartedly. The achievements of City Lord Qin Yuming over the years can be regarded as outstanding even among the 189 major cities in the Huaxia region. We should make an exception for him. After Guan Ruofei expressed his attitude, he turned to Qin Yuming again and directly said something that shocked City Lord Feng Ping of the ancient Jade City, the first speaker Ning Ziwu, and the deputy city Lord Hai Mingwei of the ecliptic main city. "City Lord Qin Yuming, work hard. If you can continue to maintain this energy and momentum, when the time is right in the future, I will personally submit your application to the Grand Governor for you to enter the high-level council. Looking for recommendation votes." Chapter 710. Guan Ruofei, Ning Ziwu, Feng Bopping, and the others encouraged Qin Yuming. They made a courteous request to Hai Mingwei and quickly left. Even after Guan Ruofei left, Qin Yuming still hadn't recovered from the sudden joy. Hai Mingwei's face turned green, then white, no less than 10 times. After a while, he squeezed out a smile and said, Good. Yuming, congratulations on finally becoming the chairman of Ancient Jade City's council. Moreover, you've obtained the support of Ning Ziwu and Feng Bopping. Your future in Ancient Jade City will definitely be smooth sailing, and your future will be limitless. Being promoted to a main city and taking on important responsibilities will be just around the corner. After hearing Hai Mingwei's voice, Qin Yuming gradually calmed himself down. This is the organization and the council's trust in me. Following this, I will definitely do my best to shoulder my responsibilities and properly handle matters at hand. Good, I knew it. As long as you do your work well, the council will definitely not bury your talent. After Hai Mingwei finished speaking, he looked at the time and said, It's almost time for you to get off work. We can't let Hai Eng and the others wait for too long. Let's go together. I still have a lot to say to you on the way. While speaking, Hemingway's attitude was extremely enthusiastic, whereas the coldness from before that couldn't wait to turn around and leave. According to the current situation, if Qing Yuming was promoted again, it was very likely that he would reach the heavens in a single bound and enter China's upper council. His future was limitless. It must be known that China's upper council only had a total of 300 or so members. Often, only those important figures in capitals, main city's city lord, main city's warrior association president, and the military's lieutenant general and above could hope to enter. Every council member held an inconceivable amount of influence. Even he, the number 2 figure of the Hai family, didn't have any confidence in entering the upper council. But Qing Yuming in front of him, he had directly entered the eyes of the great governor and even made Guan Ruofei give him such a clear promise. This was practically guaranteeing that he would definitely be able to enter the upper council and become a member in a few years' time. What was reaching the heavens in a single bound? This was reaching the heavens in a single bound. Just based on the potential that Qing Yuming had shown at this moment, his status was already not inferior to that of the vice city lord of the main city. Therefore, in front of Qing Yuming, how could he still dare to order him around? Then, I'll put the matter on hold for now. Qing Yuming was still a little confused. That's right, let's put it aside first. Ha! With such a joyous occasion, we must drink to our heart's content and not return until we're drunk. Hemingway laughed. As he spoke, he had already forgotten about his excuse of going to the capital in the afternoon. Just now, his attitude was obviously a little cold. Now, he had to repair his relationship with this promising new political star as soon as possible. At the same time, he had to find out where Qing Yuming found the channel to reach the heavens and catch the eye of the Grand Consul. Xing Hui, who was far away in Mount Danyang, didn't know what was happening in ancient Jade City because of the power he had displayed. For the entire night, he and Professor Luo Song studied the characteristics of spatial fluctuations, the appearance of spatial tunnels, and other phenomena. According to Professor Luo Song's words and Xing Hui's speculation of the information he had, the reason why a spatial tunnel appeared on Earth and was targeted by an extraterrestrial civilization was most likely related to him being teleported to the divine wilderness world by the divine teleportation array. After learning this, he directly requested to go to the Jade Sea province's spatial tunnel at dawn to investigate. The military and the Warrior Association naturally supported his request. Early in the morning, they specially sent a fighter plane to send him to an airport outside the Jade Sea province's fortress. As soon as he arrived at the Jade Sea province's fortress, the deputy commander of the fortress, Qi Jun, the local president of the Warrior Association, Wu Bieshan, and more than 10 people were already there to welcome him. Seeing Xing Hui arrive, Qi Jun, Wu Bieshan, and the others hurriedly greeted him. Among them, the president of the Warrior Association, Wu Bieshan, was the first to laugh and say, "This is the Sword Saint powerhouse, Xing Hui, who defeated 10 martial Dao masters in a row in our ancient Huaxia martial arts world 13 years ago. As expected of a young Sword Saint who showed heavenly talent 13 years ago. In the blink of an eye, you have cultivated to such a level. It is truly inconceivable." Xing Hui glanced at Wu Bieshan. Although he was a warrior, he did not have a good impression of the Warrior Association. Back then, the Warrior Association had threatened the Eastern Sun Sword sect. However, he was not the type to vent his anger on others. He only said indifferently, "You flatter me." After saying this, he turned his gaze to the deputy commander, General Qi Jun. "Commander Qi, I believe that Commander Xia Qiyin has already told you the purpose of my visit. I want to see the spatial tunnel in the Jade Sea. I don't know if you have any detailed information about it." Sword Saint Xing Hui, don't be anxious. We have already prepared the information. In addition, there are 2 people who want to meet you, Sword Saint Xing Hui. After Qi Jun finished speaking, he saw a person quickly walking over from the airport. Although he was walking forward, his speed was extremely fast. After a few leaps, he had already appeared in front of Xing Hui. Legendary Marshal Saint Jiang Shangdao. Xing Hui looked at the man who was quickly approaching and immediately recognized his identity. Jiang Xingdao was a highly respected martial saint in the ancient Huaxia country more than 10 years ago. He had extremely high prestige in the ancient Huaxia country. As half of the ancient Huaxia country's martial saint, Xing Hui had naturally heard of his name. Especially during this period of time, in order to mold him into a hero, the military had wantonly promoted him. It could be said that the most popular martial saint in the ancient Huaxia region was Jiang Xingdao. Sword Saint Xing Hui. Xing Hui Sword Saint's name is like thunder to my ears. It is a pity that I did not personally witness the battle where Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint defeated 10 martial Dao masters. It is truly regrettable. A mere sword technique is naturally not worthy of martial saint Jiang Xingdao's attention, Xing Hui said calmly. Even in the face of this legendary martial saint, he did not show any excitement. There is no seniority in learning. The one who reaches the top is the teacher. Your sword technique may not be worth mentioning at that time, but now, I have heard from Commander Xia about your performance and achievements. It is really incredible and amazing. If it were not for the news that Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint would come to our Jade Sea Fortress this morning, and the news of the ferocious beast rioting in the space passage disrupted my plan, I am afraid that I would be at Danyang Mountain Base now. After Jiang Xingdao finished speaking, he looked at Xing Hui Sword Saint with eyes full of curiosity. Qi Jun on the side reminded him in a low voice, General Jiang, the marshal is still waiting. It doesn't matter if he waits for a while. Jiang Xingdao said as he quickly led the way in front of him. He took him to a modified military vehicle parked nearby and said, Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint, I heard that you want to see the space passage in our Jade Sea Fortress. If you want to go there, you will probably need someone to be your guide. How about I go with you? After all, the closer you are to the space passage, the more serious the ferocious beasts there are. We have not seen the space passage in Jade Sea for more than 2 years. We do not know if there are apocalyptic beasts in the space passage, but there are many disaster-level and annihilation-level ferocious beasts. It is too dangerous for ordinary people to go in with you. Okay. Xing Hui Sword Saint nodded. That's great. After Jiang Xingdao finished speaking, he did not seem like a respectable elder who was 80 years old at all. Instead, he said eagerly, if it weren't for the fact that I still need your help with something, I'd really like to go in with you right now and kill those ferocious beasts. At the same time, I'd also like to see the power of someone whose martial arts cultivation has reached a level above that of an apocalypse-level ferocious beast. Xing Hui Sword Saint knew that the second brother Jiang Xingdao was talking about was the current supreme commander of the Huaxia military department, Jiang Kunlun. With his current vision, he no longer cared about the status of Jiang Kunlun and the others. However, among the 3 major forces of the federal government, the military department and the Martial Artist Association, the military department was currently the most powerful. If the military department could do their best to help him find senior sister Jiang Ningji, he would definitely be able to get what he wanted faster. The vehicle moved forward and soon entered the heavily guarded base. On the first floor of the base, which was only 6 stories high, Xing Hui Sword Saint met Jiang Kunlun. Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint, welcome, welcome. Seeing Xing Hui Sword Saint arrive, the supreme commander of the military department did not have the slightest arrogance of the number 1 person in the military department. He immediately greeted Xing Hui Sword Saint and shook hands with him. Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint now represents the greatest miracle of our human race. You have great power above an apocalyptic beast with your flesh and blood. In terms of martial arts, it's not an exaggeration to say that you're a living legend. Although I'm the commander of the military department, I'm also a martial artist. It's really a great blessing to be able to see Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint, a legendary figure who opened up the path of martial arts to the level of an apocalyptic beast. If there's a chance, it would be best if I could ask Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint to give us some pointers, as well as my subordinates. As long as the military department can help me find my senior sister Jiang Ningji, it's not impossible to give them pointers. Sword Saint Xing Hui Sword Saint, don't worry. At present, We have already mobilized all our forces to search for Miss Jiang Ningxi's whereabouts. Once there's any news, we will definitely report to you immediately. In that case, I want to see the space channel in the Jade Sea. At the same time, I want to understand what the so-called extraterrestrial civilization behind the space channel is. Sing Hui Sword Saint said directly. He had a lot of things to do and did not want to waste time on unnecessary pleasantries. You want to go now? Jiang Kunlun was startled, but he was also the kind of person who was swift and decisive. He quickly nodded and said, "Okay, I'll arrange for someone to take you there. Let me go." Sword Saint Sing Hui Sword Saint wants to go to the space channel, and the closer to the space channel, the stronger the dire beasts are. Even with the protection of Sword Saint Sing Hui Sword Saint, the others may not be able to follow safely. Jiang Shengdao volunteered. "I'm a little worried if you go alone. I'll let Qi Long take his people and go with you." Qi Long. When Jiang Shengdao heard the person Jiang Kunlun mentioned, he suddenly understood something. After pausing for a moment, he nodded and said, "Okay." Jiang Kunlun then turned to Sing Hui Sword Saint again and said with a sincere face, "Sword Saint Sing Hui Sword Saint, the safety of my third brother and those soldiers is in your hands. Of course, if you really encounter danger that you can't deal with, Sword Saint Sing Hui Sword Saint can leave first. You represent the future cultivation pioneer of the disaster-level dire beasts in our martial arts world. Your safety is the priority. If the strength of these dire beasts is the same as what you detected, as long as they follow me, there won't be any danger." Sing Hui Sword Saint said. "Then I'll have to trouble Sword Saint Sing Hui Sword Saint. I'll prepare a banquet and wait for Sword Saint Sing Hui Sword Saint to return from the space channel." Chapter 711. Outside the Jade Sea Fortress. A large vehicle that looked like a tank, but was actually larger than a tank, was rapidly moving in the direction of the spatial passage. The vehicle was 6 meters tall, 10 meters long, and 5 meters wide. Its armor was made from the toughest titanium alloy. There was also a large amount of heavy equipment on the vehicle. Although there weren't any electronic products among the equipment, and they all needed to be operated manually, the combat power it could unleash was not the slightest bit inferior to an elite battalion of a few hundred people. 6 high-tier dire beasts and 1 lower-tier dire beast ahead have been eliminated. Confirmed. Continue to observe. In the vehicle, a team of 10 people, including Tsing Hui and Jiang Shengdao, were waiting in the vehicle for a total of 12 people. The people who were currently dealing with the dire beasts were the members of the Hornless Dragon Squad who were operating the vehicle. "Sir, the resistance we're facing is increasing. I'm afraid that if this continues, we'll have to ask the two of you to take action personally." The captain of the Hornless Dragon Squad spoke to Tsing Hui and Jiang Shengdao after eliminating a wave of dire beasts. As he spoke, he was secretly sizing up Tsing Hui. They already knew about Jiang Shengdao, the legendary martial saint. They had fought side by side with him in the past. The promotional videos of him killing Lord-tier dire beasts and even disaster-tier dire beasts were shot by them. They naturally had great confidence in his strength. However, Tsing Hui in front of them, rumor had it that it had appeared out of nowhere without any warning. Moreover, it had a terrifying combat power that was above that of the apocalypse-level dire beasts. Because of its appearance, the Warriors Association had even specially listed a new level of dire beasts, leader level. However, although he was called a leader-level existence, other than the terrifying speed he displayed when attacking the Danyang mountain base, he did not have any other achievements. Many people still had doubts about his true strength. Even the Hornless Dragon Squad did not believe that a young expert who had suddenly appeared would have such terrifying combat power. At this moment, they were ordered to lead the way for Tsing Hui to observe the spatial passage. On the one hand, they wanted to collect data on the spatial passage and the dire beasts on the periphery. On the other hand, they wanted to collect information on Tsing Hui to confirm whether he had combat power greater than that of an apocalypse-level dire beast. "If there's a need, I'll take action." Jiang Shengdao was the first to speak. Although he really wanted to see Tsing Hui's strength with his own eyes, they were still a few hundred kilometers away from the spatial tunnel. Clearly, it was not worth it for them to use their trump card. Tsing Hui glanced at Jiang Xingdao and then at the hornless dragon. He knew very well why Jiang Kunlun had asked the hornless dragon squad to follow him here. It could not be that he wanted to take the opportunity to collect his specific data. Regarding this, he, who still needed their help to find Jiang Ningji, did not say anything. On the contrary, he even intended to let Jiang Kunlun and Jiang Shengdao realize the power he currently possessed, so that they could do their best to help him find senior sister Jiang Ningji as quickly as possible. Inform me when you reach the territory of the disaster-level dire beasts. I'll deal with it. Tsing Hui also expressed his attitude. A disaster-level dire beast. When Jiang Xingdao heard Tsing Hui's words, he could not help but sigh inwardly. Currently, he had to rely on the armor that the military had spent a lot of effort to create to barely fight against those disaster-level dire beasts. However, after hearing what Tsing Hui said, it seemed like he did not care about creatures below disaster level at all. He really did not know how powerful Tsing Hui would be when he unleashed his full combat strength later. The war chariot pushed forward again. When they were only about 200 kilometers away from the spatial tunnel, the number of dire beasts around them had increased. Not only were there Lord-level dire beasts, but there were also many great Lord-level dire beasts. For this reason, Jiang Xingdao had no choice but to get out of the war chariot first and work with the hornless dragon squad to clear out the dire beasts that pounced out to ensure the war chariot's normal operation. Just as the war chariot pushed forward another 20 kilometers or so, a low roar suddenly resounded through the wilderness. In a small forest that was not too dense in front of them, a cat-type dire beast that was about 4 meters tall and the size of a large truck suddenly appeared in everyone's field of vision. A surging and blazing aura of vitality immediately rushed toward them. A disaster-level dire beast. The captain of the hornless dragon squad let out a cry of surprise. His gaze immediately fell on Tsing Hui. Is this a disaster-level dire beast? Tsing Hui said, in that case, let me take care of it. It's indeed best if Chief Tsing Hui can step in. Although Chief Jiang has a battle record of killing a disaster-level dire beast, he'll need to go through a tough battle. Once the battle goes on for a long time, a large number of dire beasts will definitely come after hearing the news. When that happens, we'll definitely encounter a lot more resistance if we want to enter the spatial tunnel easily. The captain of the Hornless Dragon Squad, Hornless Dragon, hurriedly said. Tsing Hui nodded and opened the door right away. He leaped down from the slow-moving war chariot. Then, in a flash, before the members of the Hornless Dragon Squad could react, he had already appeared in front of Jiang Xingdao, who looked like he was about to face a great enemy. He's so fast. The captain, Hornless Dragon, was secretly shocked. Firewolf, Scarlet Fox, Frustrated Feather, the few of you, activate all the devices immediately and collect the battle data. Yes, Captain. The other 3 members of the squad responded at the same time. Outside, Jiang Xingdao also saw Tsing Hui, who suddenly appeared in front of him. He immediately said with anticipation, Sacred Swordsman Tsing Hui, are you going to make a move? Then I'll be waiting to see what happens. Get the war chariot to follow me. If it's going in the wrong direction, correct it for me. Tsing Hui said and slowly untied the Scarlet Abyss sword that had been wrapped around his back. Then, his gaze swept toward the roaring cat-type, disaster-level dire beast that was rapidly charging toward him. He took a step forward, and his figure seemed to have crossed the barrier of space and distance. In an instant, he leaped dozens of meters away. Then, he pushed off the ground slightly, and his strength exploded. The ground that he had just stood on seemed to have been bombarded by a cannonball. A large amount of dust and dirt splattered everywhere. Rumble. A sonic boom roared. Amidst the dust and dirt, Tsing Hui's figure was like a cannonball that had been shot out of the barrel. In an instant, he appeared beside the 4-meter-tall, disaster-level dire beast. Along with the shock wave formed by the sonic boom, the disaster-level dire beast was directly smashed into a rain of blood. Even though its body was extremely large and sturdy, half of it was directly shattered, and it died tragically on the spot. This, even though Commander Xia Qian had already reported Tsing Hui's specific combat strength. When Jiang Shengdao saw Tsing Hui display such a terrifying speed of breaking through the sound barrier with his physical body, he could not help but widen his eyes. It's true, it's true, it's true. Oh my God. A disaster-level dire beast died. Just like that? The members of the Hornless Dragon Squad could not suppress their exclamations from the war chariot. Captain, according to our observation, Chief Tsing Hui's instantaneous burst of speed just now reached more than 1,400 kilometers per hour, and the force formed when he attacked the disaster-level dire beast was equivalent to the force of an explosion of 370 tons of TNT. The Pascal of the core was 1.6 million. Moreover, this is only the value we estimated based on the energy fluctuations that escaped. If he could condense his strength into one and explode it inside the dire beast body like Chief Jiang, the actual attack power should be even higher than this. 370 tons. The Hornless Dragon Squad could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. It should be known that even the nuclear bomb that was detonated in World War II more than 80 years ago, the power released by the little boy was only equivalent to about 13,000 tons of high explosives. The power that escaped from Tsing Hui's attack was already 1/40th of the power of that nuclear bomb. Continue. 200 meters away, the Scarlet Abyss sword in Tsing Hui's hand trembled slightly, and the blood-red color on it had completely dissipated. Due to the fact that Earth was in an almost anti-magic environment, the power of the Golden Crow in his Scarlet Abyss sword was completely dormant. However, the material used to forge the Scarlet Abyss sword back then was far stronger than any alloy. In addition to the Scarlet Abyss sword's sturdiness and shattering characteristics, this godly sword was able to shatter almost all materials on Earth. Leader level. Jiang Shengdao's eyes sparkled as he watched Tsing Hui advancing rapidly. This is the realm that we martial artists pursue our entire lives. After saying that, he waved at the Hornless Dragon Squad behind him and quickly followed Tsing Hui. Tsing Hui's advancing speed was undoubtedly much faster than the Hornless Dragon Squad's own. Whenever a great lord or disaster-level ferocious beast appeared along the way, he would immediately accelerate and break through the sound barrier. With the Scarlet Abyss sword as the tip of his blade, he would smash the great lord and disaster-level ferocious beast that dared to block his way into a bloody mist with a thunderous might. As for the remaining ferocious beasts that were not even at the Lord level, Jiang Shengdao and the Hornless Dragon Squad would naturally take care of them. Under such circumstances, the group maintained a speed of almost 60 kilometers per hour as they rapidly approached the spatial tunnel. He's practically treating the disaster-level ferocious beasts like they're nothing. The disaster-level ferocious beasts that once destroyed an entire armor division and sacrificed tens of thousands of soldiers to kill are actually not worth mentioning in front of Chief Tsing Hui. Inside the tank, the captain of the Hornless Dragon Squad trembled in excitement as he watched Tsing Hui easily smash another disaster-level ferocious beast to death. Did you record it, Crimson Fox? Did you record it? Huaxia has given birth to such a top-notch, invincible existence. If we publicize this properly, it will definitely greatly boost the morale of our martial artists. It will also be immeasurably useful in stabilizing the hearts of the people. I recorded it, Captain. I didn't miss a single exciting scene. Good. Roar. Ah, what a powerful energy reaction. Annihilation grade, annihilation grade. An annihilation-grade ferocious beast has appeared. Sword Saint Tsing Hui is going to meet it head-on. This is an annihilation-grade ferocious beast. Humans have never killed such a terrifying existence with their own strength. The scales of these monsters can even ignore the bombardment of normal artillery. Each of them has the combat power to destroy a city. Quick, quick, turn on the highest speed camera. Don't miss a single detail. It's already turned on. Dead. Dead? An annihilation-grade ferocious beast died, just like that? It's just like killing a disaster-level ferocious beast. Sword Saint Sing Hui just crashed into it and killed it directly? We are witnessing history. Chapter 712. 200 kilometers, 150 kilometers, 100 kilometers, 50 kilometers. The Hornless Dragon Squad's war chariot continued to move forward under Sing Hui's guidance. During this period of time, they encountered countless ferocious beasts that attacked them. However, regardless of whether it was the disaster-level dire beasts or the annihilation-level dire beasts that blocked their way, or the exact number of dire beasts, Sword Saint Sing Hui, who had been leading the way, maintained the same action, and that was to accelerate, break through the sound barrier, and then use his sword as the tip to ram into the dire beasts under this simple and direct attack, regardless of whether it was the disaster-level dire beast that could cause thousands of casualties or the annihilation-level dire beast that could destroy cities. There was no difference. Under Sing Hui's ram, all of them were blasted into pieces of flesh and blood. This kind of simple, bloody, yet extremely violent method of attack made everyone in the Hornless Dragon Squad feel their blood boil. They could not wait to bring these videos back to the military and share them with the many big shots in the military so that they could see with their own eyes the exhilarating and domineering scene of a human slaughtering a feral beast with the strength of flesh and blood. What a terrifying energy reaction! An annihilation-level dire beast. An annihilation-level dire beast. An annihilation-level dire beast has appeared. As the Hornless Dragon Squad pushed forward 50 kilometers into the spatial tunnel, they could even faintly see the materialized spatial ripples that were emitted from the spatial tunnel. Exclamations, which had been quiet for a long time, were heard from the crowd again. "Oh my God! I always thought that there were no annihilation-level dire beasts in the spatial tunnel on our side of the Jade Sea. I didn't expect that there really are annihilation-level dire beasts, and this annihilation-level dire beast has not made out yet. Otherwise, the losses that it would cause to our Jade Sea fortress would be immeasurable." The captain of the Hornless Dragon Squad looked at the 30-meter-tall, alligator-like dire beast that had appeared at the end of the horizon with his eyes wide open. Annihilation-level dire beast. This is the Doomsday Crocodile. Oh my God, this pressure, this momentum, it's too scary. Even an annihilation-level dire beast has appeared. The chief has always been speculated to have combat power that surpasses annihilation-level dire beasts. Is this true? Can he really defeat a monster-like existence like an apocalypse-level dire beast with his fragile human body? The eyes of the other team members were also fixed on the apocalyptic beast and Sing Hui. Their eyes were filled with excitement, nervousness, and worry. Drive the war chariot closer. Scarlet Fox, record it down. Don't miss out on a single detail. Record everything down and don't miss out on anything. The Hornless Dragon clenched its teeth and ordered as it looked at the massive creature on the horizon. After he finished speaking, his eyes were filled with fanaticism as he looked at Senior Chief Sing Hui, who was leading the way. His eyes were filled with fervor and passion as he said, "I'm afraid that this battle will affect the future of our entire human race. This battle is very likely to change the structure of the world. Regardless of the outcome, this battle is destined to be recorded in the annals of history." In front of the apocalyptic-level ferocious beast, Jiang Shengdao, who was a legendary martial sage, felt his legs go soft as he looked at the colossal creature whose aura was like a rainbow, as if it was about to condense into a blood pillar and shoot straight into the sky. If it were not for his will as a warrior and his human dignity supporting him, he would have turned around and fled the moment he saw this monster. Sword Saint Sing Hui, should we retreat for a while, take a break, and recover some vitality? This monster, the power of blood and qi on its body, is too terrifying. It's thousands, tens of thousands of times more powerful than us human warriors. Jiang Shengdao stood dozens of meters behind Sing Hui and spoke loudly. Even though he tried his best to calm his voice was still trembling when he spoke. Take a break? Sing Hui looked at the monster that was nearly 100 meters long in front of him, without any change in his expression. It's just a level 6 dire beast that doesn't even have any innate skills. However, I'm afraid it'll get me all bloody. As he spoke, his left foot bent slightly. This was a sign that he was going to exert his strength. Boom! The next moment, a deafening sound rang out. Then, the place where Sing Hui stood just now seemed to have been bombarded by a cannonball. A large amount of soil and dust were lifted into the air, and a shockwave visible to the naked eye spread out from where he stood. At first glance, the ground looked like a lake where pebbles were thrown into, and a huge crater with a diameter of 10 meters and a depth of 1 to 2 meters was squeezed out of the soil. When this huge crater was formed, Sing Hui's figure had already broken through the atmosphere with a whistling sound. He flew over the annihilation-level dire beast at a speed that was far beyond what a mortal's eyes could capture. This time, he did not choose to hit the annihilation-level dire beast with his own body. Even if he directly hit the annihilation-level dire beast with his own body, when the annihilation-level dire beast's flesh and blood splattered down, it would be shocked into a bloody mist by the terrifying air pressure around his body. It would not necessarily dirty him, but this time, however, he used a different method. Strike! White light! A blazing white light burst out in everyone's eyes at the same time. This light was not the manifestation of true qi, but because the speed was too fast and the strength was too great, the combination of the two compressed the atmosphere, forming a high-frequency air pressure. This high-frequency air pressure, under Sing Hui's terrifying strength that could almost change the laws of physics, was condensed into a giant sword that was dozens of meters long. This was why it appeared in front of everyone's eyes and emitted a blazing white light. It was just like how a fighter jet breaking the sound barrier would form a sonic boom cloud. However, although this blazing white sword aura was not the manifestation of true qi, the power it possessed was far above that of an ordinary true qi realm cultivator. The annihilation-level dire beast, which was as huge as a small hill, was cut in half by this blazing white sword aura. The high-speed vibration and pressure formed by the high-frequency air pressure caused the cut wound to expand rapidly, and the blood that splashed out was directly vaporized. In the eyes of ordinary people, they only saw a flash of light, a white rainbow piercing through the sun, and a sword gleam tearing through the air. That powerful and almost invincible apocalyptic beast was slain, and its huge corpse was split into two. It did not even have the time to let out a mournful cry before its huge body crashed heavily onto the ground, sending up waves of dust. Instant kill. And it was still an instant kill. A thunderous instant kill. An instant kill with irresistible force. When the annihilation-level dire beast, which had been cut in half from head to tail, crashed to the ground, it took a good few seconds. The hornless dragon squad in the war chariot, as well as the legendary martial sage Jiang Xingdao, who was outside the war chariot and was trembling with fear, could not recover from their shock at all. All of them widened their eyes and looked at the lifeless corpse of the dire beast that was like a small hill, shocked speechless. Dead. An annihilation-level dire beast is dead. It's the same as killing a disaster-level or annihilation-level dire beast. One hit killed. Could it be that I've been guarding the fortress for too long all these years? So much so that I'm hallucinating? Can annihilation-level dire beast be so easily killed by us humans? After being stunned for a while, someone in the hornless dragon squad mumbled, as if in a dream. You're not dreaming, nor are you hallucinating, but it's real. Chief Sing Hui has killed an annihilation-level dire beast. We humans have killed an annihilation-level dire beast with our own strength. The captain of the hornless dragon squad took a deep breath and said solemnly, one hit, and the annihilation-level dire beast was killed. Outside the war chariot, the legendary martial sage Jiang Shengdao's eyes flashed with a moment of confusion. The next moment, the confusion was replaced by an unprecedented passion. He suddenly opened his arms, as if he wanted to embrace the whole world and the arrival of a new era. Legendary martial sage? What legendary martial sage? This is a true legend. This is a true myth. This is a supreme and great god. In the void, Sing Hui's figure slowly descended. Without vital energy, this was very inconvenient. In addition, the rules and vitality of the Earth's world gave him a feeling that they were sealed by a mysterious power. Even with his terrifying cultivation that was not inferior to the divine realm in the divine wilderness world, it was difficult for him to even do the simplest of flying here. I can already see the space passage. Qing Su gazed towards the end of the horizon. Then, he turned to look at Jiang Xingdao and the rest of the Hornless Dragon Squad. Even though they were hundreds of meters apart, his voice could still be heard clearly. Let's speed up. When the members of the Hornless Dragon Squad heard Sing Hui's words, they immediately sobered up and looked at Sing Hui, who was hundreds of meters away. Their eyes were filled with reverence, as if they were looking at a god. Speed up! Speed up! Chief's orders, speed up! This power, Jiang Shengdao also sobered up from his almost fanatical emotions. He took a deep breath and looked at Sing Hui, who represented the new peak of humanity, and resolutely chased after him. When they passed by the terrifying apocalypse-level dire beast, Jiang Shengdao also saw the sword mark left by Sing Hui's sword. This sword mark was dozens of meters deep into the ground, and its length was a shocking 1,000 meters. He could not imagine that a human could slash out such a terrifying sword light that almost tore the earth apart. Roar! 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 It seemed that because they were close to the space passage, the density of dire beasts increased exponentially. Moreover, among the dire beasts that occupied a radius of 50 kilometers, there was almost no one below the Lord grade. Almost all of them were Lord grade, Great Lord grade, and disaster grade dire beasts. Moreover, a group of dire beasts would often be led by 1 or 2 annihilation grade dire beasts. In places where the dire beasts were particularly dense, the figures of apocalypse-level dire beasts appeared again. However, when they looked at the apocalypse-level dire beasts again, whether it was Jiang Xingdao, who had decent strength, or the Hornless Dragon Squad in the War Chariot, they no longer felt suffocated by the terrifying aura of the apocalypse-level dire beasts. Instead, they all stared at the figure in front of them fervently, waiting for him to perform miracles again and again. Chapter 713. There's quite a lot of them. Sing Hui, who was leading the way, slashed out with his sword. The air pressure that was constantly compressed formed a visible airflow that whistled as it plowed out a nearly 5-kilometer vacuum passageway in front of him. Everything in the passageway, from the annihilation grade to the lord-level ferocious beasts, was crushed into powder by this sword aura without any suspense, turning into a bloody mist that filled the air. Even so, as he continued to approach the space passageway, the ferocious beasts around him seemed to be unable to kill them all. Their numbers were increasing. Although my physical strength is strong, there are still obvious limitations. At least, my efficiency in killing these ferocious beasts is obviously much lower. The reason I used this method to kill the ferocious beasts earlier was to make it easier for the Hornless Dragon Squad, behind me, to collect data. Now, their data collection should be more or less complete. It's time to change the method. Sing Hui looked at the ferocious beasts that were surging in from all directions and put away the Scarlet Abyss sword in his hand. This scene fell into the eyes of Jiang Xingdao and the 10 members of the Hornless Dragon Squad, who were following behind him. Instantly, their eyes widened. Chief, what is he doing? There are just too many ferocious beasts. Even if Chief can finally get close to the space passageway, he probably won't have the time to observe it. Damn it, I didn't expect there to be so many ferocious beasts near the space passageway. The ferocious beasts we see now are probably no less than 100,000. Moreover, none of these ferocious beasts are lower than Lord level. If these ferocious beasts form an army and swarm out, who can stop them? Damn it, where did so many ferocious beasts come from? If we kill so many ferocious beasts one by one, Even Iron Man would collapse from exhaustion. The members of the Hornless Dragon Squad looked at the sea of ferocious beasts surrounding Tsing Hui and his group. Each and every one of them spoke furiously and unwillingly. However, almost at the same time as they finished speaking, they saw Tsing Hui leap forward, breaking through the sound barrier in an instant. With a speed far faster than before, he shot rapidly in the direction of the space passageway. Before they could see where Tsing Hui had gone, an unprecedentedly intense light seemed to shine between heaven and earth. In their field of vision, they suddenly saw a divine sword leap out of Tsing Hui's body as he charged out. It was a supreme divine sword in the next instant that transformed into a sun. The blazing sun shone brilliantly. It was as if they were standing right in front of a detonated nuclear bomb. The terrifying radiation immediately robbed the Hornless Dragon Squad of their vision, hearing, and even smell, causing their eyes to be filled with endless light. Vision did not exist. There was no sense of hearing. The sense of touch did not exist. Nothing existed. At this moment, the 10 members of the Hornless Dragon Squad, including the legendary marshal Saint Jiang Shengdao, thought that they were already dead. In their eyes, in their minds, and in their thoughts, there was nothing else. After an unknown period of time, perhaps an instant, perhaps an hour, the suffocating, despair-inducing white light quickly dissipated. Everything between heaven and earth returned to the eyes of the crowd, allowing them to regain their sense of sight, touch, hearing, and smell. For a moment, the 10 members of the Hornless Dragon Squad, including the legendary marshal Saint Jiang Shengdao, began to pant heavily, as if they were drowning people who had just been fished out of the water. However, before they could catch their breaths, they were shocked to notice the strangeness of their surroundings. Something was wrong. Something was extremely wrong. Silence. Their surroundings were too quiet, so quiet that it was frightening. It should be known that before the blazing white light that filled their eyes and filled the heavens and earth spread out, they were surrounded by a sea of ferocious beasts. In all directions, there were tens of thousands of great Lord, disaster, annihilation, and even apocalyptic ferocious beasts. The roars of the ferocious beasts were deafening, and the blood of the ferocious beasts soared into the sky. That kind of oppression made Jiang Shengdao and the others, who were at most able to barely deal with disaster-level ferocious beasts, feel as if they were in hell. But now, all the roars of the ferocious beasts seemed to have disappeared in an instant. This sudden change caused them to look in all directions at once. And then, they saw a scene that they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Ferocious beasts. Tens of thousands of ferocious beasts. From lore to apocalyptic beasts, densely packed, ferocious beasts. However, what was different from before was that these endless ferocious beasts were all lying quietly on the ground. There were no wounds on their bodies, no blood, and no painful screams before they died. But without exception, all of them had lost all signs of life. In an instant, tens of thousands of ferocious beasts died. Apart from them, the area within a radius of more than 10 kilometers seemed to have completely turned into a forbidden zone for life. All life had been wiped out, including the apocalyptic beasts that were so powerful that they could bring a calamity to the human world. Such a strange scene, such a terrifying scene, caused everyone to feel so depressed that they almost went crazy. What happened? What exactly happened? The Hornless Dragon team leader's heart trembled. He felt an inexplicable fear spread throughout his body. It was a fear that came from the depths of his soul. Faced with this phenomenon of being so powerful that it was suffocating, Jiang Shengdao, who was a legendary martial saint, was not much better off than the members of the Hornless Dragon team, whose cultivations were at the Lord and Great Lord level. However, after forcibly suppressing the terror in the depths of his heart, he finally thought of something, and uncontrollable astonishment once again appeared in his eyes. Martial will. This is martial will. Martial will. The martial will of a warrior sage. Firewolf and the team instantly widened his eyes. That sword, that great sun, Dongyang Sword Codex. The sword will cultivate it from the Danyang Sword Codex. The great sun shines brilliantly, illuminating all living beings. Jiang Xingdao forcefully closed his eyes, allowing his mind to be completely immersed in the scene of the great sun leaping out from Tsing Hui's body. To think that a human's martial will can be cultivated to such an extent? The Glass Dragon team leader also took in a deep breath. Recalling the feeling from earlier, he felt as if his worldview had been completely shattered. Relying on his martial will to wipe out all living beings within a radius of more than 10 kilometers. Oh my God, how powerful must his martial will be? Is he still human? Crimson Fox let out a cry that sounded like a painful groan. All right, let's not talk anymore. Let's hurry up and catch up. Otherwise, the ferocious beasts in the surroundings will quickly fill up the gap. By then, it'll be difficult for us to move forward again. As the Hornless Dragon team leader spoke, the war chariot once again moved forward. Along the way, they naturally passed by the incomparably huge and terrifying ferocious beast corpses. These terrifying creatures that were originally so powerful that they were undefeatable in everyone's eyes had their consciousness destroyed forever under the impact of a human's martial will. Just thinking about this kind of power, how much despair would that be? After a short while, when everyone slowly recovered from the suffocating aura and realized that this powerhouse was in existence on their side, everyone gradually became excited. With such a powerhouse on the human side, why should they worry about not being able to repel the ferocious beasts? Why should they worry about not being able to deal with the extraterrestrial civilization that had invaded Earth? Mental storm. This is a secret technique that uses mental power. Even though this secret technique is more basic, but my control of this secret technique is still lacking. Even though I consciously avoided the Hornless Dragon team members and charged more than 10 kilometers away, I still almost turned them into idiots. Tsing Hui rubbed his temples. He was still not used to the secret technique of the Xia Empire's mental power. If not for the fact that he could not use his true chi and use his remarkable abilities, he would never have chosen this half-baked mental storm technique to sweep through the thousands of ferocious beasts in all directions. Fortunately, after the mental storm cleared the area, all the ferocious beasts within a radius of more than 10 kilometers were wiped out. Next, he only needed to deal with the ferocious beasts near the spatial passage. The Hornless Dragon team's war chariot had been heavily modified, and its speed could not be said to be slow. It charged through the wilderness at a speed of more than 100 kilometers per hour. Tsing Hui did not have to wait for long before they caught up. The group moved forward again. After killing another 4 apocalypse-level ferocious beasts and more than 100 annihilation-level ferocious beasts, Tsing Hui, the Hornless Dragon team, Jiang Xingdao, and the rest finally appeared in front of the spatial passage that was more than 30 meters in diameter. This spatial passage is indeed man-made. As far as I know, even vacuum-shattering powerhouses are unable to construct a spatial passage. To construct a spatial passage, one must either be a divine, true body powerhouse of the Kuan Peng bloodline, a maverick array grandmaster, or an invincible being who can create a world with a thought. Tsing Hui looked at the spatial passage in front of him with a heavy gaze. Whether it was a divine, true body powerhouse of the Kuan Peng bloodline, a maverick array grandmaster, or an invincible being who can create a world with a thought, none of them were people he could fight against. The so-called extraterrestrial civilization was much more complicated than he had imagined. Sacred Swordsman Tsing Hui. Can you see the image behind the spatial passage? How is this spatial passage formed? Jiang Xingdao and the rest of the Hornless Dragon team came to Tsing Hui's side and asked respectfully. After killing so many people and witnessing the terrifying strength that Tsing Hui had displayed along the way, he had become somewhat omniscient and omnipotent in the eyes of these people. Back then, was the spatial passage on Mount Danyang closed like this? Tsing Hui asked. The spatial passage on Mount Danyang? Jiang Xingdao thought for a moment and immediately replied, In fact, the spatial passage on Mount Donyang closed on its own for no apparent reason. Moreover, a spatial passage is usually the most powerful when it is opened, but it will slowly shrink as time passes. For example, the spatial passage in our Yuhai province was more than 50 meters wide when it was first opened, but now it has shrunk to 30 meters. According to the inference of our scientists, it is not easy for the extraterrestrial civilization that invaded our civilization to maintain a spatial passage like this. Xing Hui looked at the spatial passage in front of him. If he had the many miraculous abilities of the Son of Chaos, he could still transform into the Kuan Peng Divine Beast and use its understanding of the laws of space to destroy this spatial passage. But now, has anyone been to the other side of the spatial passage? Yes. Jiang Shengdao's expression was gloomy as he replied, but no one came back alive. No return. Xing Hui looked at the spatial passage in front of him and then suddenly drew his sword. The moment he drew his sword, Jiang Shengdao and the rest felt a gust of wind sweep across a radius of more than 10 kilometers, blowing them so hard that they almost lost their balance. All the air seemed to be extracted and compressed in an instant, then turned into a visible sword ray that slashed into the spatial passage in front of them. But as the rings of spatial fluctuation spread, this terrifying sword ray was like a small stone thrown into a lake. It only caused a slight ripple before it was completely swallowed up and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 714. This level of power is not something I can touch right now. Xing Hui's heart sank slightly. He could sense the existence of the laws at the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth realm. When he reached the profound void realm, he could already borrow a portion of the power of space, but that was in the divine wilderness world. In Xing Hui's senses, the world of earth, or rather the entire universe, seemed to be in a special state of tranquility. This kind of tranquility caused the laws of the entire world to not appear, and there was no vitality. Even though Xing Hui had a foundation of understanding the laws in the divine wilderness world, he could not display any of it on earth. He could only rely on his own body and mind to fight against the beasts. Sword Saint Xing Hui, how is it? Do you have a way to close this spatial passage? Jiang Shengdao came behind Xing Hui and asked. Unknowingly, he used honorifics in his tone. I don't have a way at the moment. But Xing Hui thought of the strange similarities between Earth and the divine wilderness world, as well as the mythical beasts and sword immortals that appeared in Earth's myths and legends. After a moment of silence, he said, I need to find some information. If my guess is correct, I might have a way to destroy these spatial passages and close them. You really have a way? Good. When we go back, we will immediately start a project for you and report this project to the Supreme Council. We will gather everyone's strength to assist Sword Saint Xing Hui. If we can really destroy and close the spatial passage, Sword Saint Xing Hui, you will be the greatest contributor to saving our Earth civilization. Xing Hui glanced around. An endless stream of beasts had quickly surrounded them, filling the gap that Xing Hui had cleared with his mind storm. He said, Let's leave this place first. Okay, we will evacuate immediately. Jiang Shengdao agreed forcefully and made a hand gesture. The giant war chariot immediately moved and began to break out of the encirclement. Due to Qing Su's earlier massacre with the mental storm, he had slain quite a few apocalypse-level feral beasts. As for the annihilation and calamity-level feral beasts, he had slain countless of them. Breaking out of the encirclement this time was clearly much easier. When night was about to fall, Xing Hui, Jiang Shengdao, and the others had already passed through some of the outposts in the human garrison area. When they arrived at the periphery of the fortress, Jiang Kunlun, Deputy Commander Qi Jun, Wu Biashan, and even the secretary of the great governor, Shi Chui, and the daughter of the Warrior Association's president, Ran Sini, had already been waiting here for a long time. Seeing the war chariot covered in the blood of ferocious beasts, all the officers and soldiers saluted the war chariot as if they were welcoming a hero. Welcome back, hero. After the salute, Jiang Kunlun was the first to walk forward. He welcomed Xing Hui, Jiang Shengdao, Qi Long, and the others from the war chariot. After these people came down, professionals quickly came forward. They took some of the important equipment and information from the war chariot and gathered a team of experts to study it. Jiang Kunlun looked at Jiang Shengdao and Xing Hui with enthusiasm. I wonder if your trip went well? Can you take a look at the space tunnel in the Jade Sea? Xing Hui nodded and did not speak. Jiang Xingdao took over the conversation and said, I saw it. The space tunnel's current situation is better than what the experts estimated. Right now, the diameter of the space tunnel in the Jade Sea should be around 2 meters. 2 meters? That is great. With this size, I'm afraid it will not be easy for the Annihilation-class beast to come out. It looks like as long as the space tunnel does not suddenly expand like it did a few years ago, the space tunnel in the Jade Sea will be completely closed in 10 years. Jiang Kunlun suddenly looked happy. The other secretaries, Shi Chui and Ran Sini, the daughter of the Warrior Association's president, smiled when they heard the news. To be able to get such news, their trip was not in vain. Hello, Sword Saint Xing Hui. I'm a secretary of the great governor, Shi Chui. Nice to meet you. At this time, Shi Chui and Ran Sini came forward and started to greet Xing Hui. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Jiang Kunlun winked at the leader of the Qi Long squad. The leader of the Qi Long squad suddenly came to his side and whispered, General, Sword Saint Xing Hui's power is scarier than we thought. This time, when he went to the space tunnel, he killed 5 Annihilation-class beasts. The Annihilation-class beasts are around 230 to 260. As for the Disaster-class beasts, there are definitely more than 1,000 of them. 5 Annihilation-class beasts, more than 200 Annihilation-class beasts, and more than 1,000 Disaster-class beasts. When Jiang Kunlun heard the Qilong's words, even though he was mentally prepared, he could not help but gasp at this moment. Oh my God, Annihilation-class beasts. He can really fight Annihilation-class beasts with a human's body of flesh and blood. Moreover, he killed 5 Annihilation-class beasts, General. The energy level displayed by Sword Saint Xing Hui when he fought with the Annihilation-class beasts should be far above that of the Annihilation-class beasts. According to the calculation method calculated by the experts, Sword Saint Xing Hui's true energy level should be more than 1 level above the Annihilation-class beasts. It should be at least 2 levels. When the Qilong said this, he thought of the terrifying scene where Xing Hui killed the Doomsday Crocodile with 1 sword and killed several Annihilation-class beasts with just his martial will at the last moment. He could not help but shudder. Sword Saint Xing Hui's energy level had definitely reached the level where he could see Annihilation-class beasts as nothing. You mean that our estimation of him, based on the Annihilation-class beast data model, needs to be increased by 2 levels? At least 2 levels. The Qilong nodded heavily and said with a slightly pale face, Moreover, Sword Saint Xing Hui has mastered a powerful killing technique. According to Chief Jiang Xingdao, it's a martial will that can only be condensed by a martial saint expert. However, Sword Saint Xing Hui's martial will is unbelievably powerful. When we got close to the spatial passageway, we were surrounded by a sea of beasts. At that time, Sword Saint Xing Hui directly activated his martial will. It was as if he had turned into a blazing sun. In an instant, all the beasts within a radius of 13 kilometers were wiped out. From the Annihilation-class beasts to the Lord-class beasts, none of them were spared. A radius of 13 kilometers. Jiang Kunlun's eyes widened. A diameter of 13 kilometers. This was already equivalent to an entire prefecture-level city, which was the entire area of a large city. Many large cities did not even reach this standard. In other words, Xing Hui had mastered an unsolvable killing technique that could easily wipe out the lives of millions of people in a prefecture-level city. This kind of destruction was even more terrifying than the destruction of a nuclear bomb. Even if a 1,000,000-ton nuclear bomb exploded, if one hid in a bunker beforehand, As long as one was not in the center of the nuclear explosion, there would still be a high probability of survival. However, according to the Qilong, Tsing Hui's large-scale killing technique unsolvable. To living creatures, there was no way to defend against it. Martial artist Jiang Kunlun took in a deep breath. He knew what martial will was. He himself was a cultivator who was powerful enough to stand up against great lord-level ferocious beasts. It was exactly because he understood what martial will was that he truly understood how terrifying martial wills like Qing Su, which could manifest martial wills that could annihilate all living beings within a range of 13 kilometers, were. Moreover, according to the Qilong, Tsing Hui's martial will's attack range from annihilation-class beasts to lord-class beasts. Did that not mean that if he could reduce the power of his martial will and expand its range, the killing range would far exceed the number of 13 kilometers? A humanoid nuclear bomb. What was a humanoid nuclear bomb? This was a true humanoid nuclear bomb. Also, there's another data. I'm not sure if it's accurate. Speak. Jiang Kunlun took in a deep breath, mentally prepared to be shocked. When the Green Ruins Sword Saint manifested his martial will, he seemed to be trying to avoid accidentally injuring us. He erupted with his full strength to widen the distance between us, and according to our calculations, the speed he displayed when he erupted with his full strength should have reached 5 times the speed of sound. When Jiang Kunlun heard the Qilong report this number, even though he was mentally prepared, his body could not help but sway. 5 times the speed of sound. 5 times the speed of sound, Mach 5. Although it could not be compared to a ballistic missile, it was impractical to use a ballistic missile to attack a moving target. Among the remaining missiles, the fastest Divine Arrow missile could only reach Mach 9, which was 9 times the speed of sound, to hit a human martial artist who could move at 5 times the speed of sound with this speed. It was wishful thinking. In other words, if Sword Saint Tsing Hui were to do evil, there would be no weapons on Earth that could stop him. Jiang Kunlun muttered to himself. As someone in power, it was natural for him to want to control all uncontrollable factors in his own hands. Although there were apocalyptic-level beasts in Earth civilization, once the apocalyptic-level beasts walked out of the interference range of space fluctuations, the human army could still kill the apocalyptic-level beasts by paying a huge price. Otherwise, the human race would have been wiped out long ago. But now, the appearance of Sword Saint Tsing Hui, a martial artist who did not follow the rules of common sense, had undoubtedly broken the original structure of the world. A terrifying life form that was completely uncontrollable and could not be restrained by any force. It was born. Organize all the information immediately and gather a team of experts to analyze the detailed data of Sword Saint Tsing Hui as soon as possible. Also, establish a life model, behavioral model, and psychological model of Sword Saint Tsing Hui. Inform all the senior members of the high-level parliament that, as the chairman, I'll hold a video conference tonight. Jiang Kunlun summoned the guards behind him and ordered softly. At the same time, he secretly glanced at Tsing Hui, who was talking to Ran Sini and Shi Chui. The appearance of a human martial artist whose energy level was 1 level higher than an apocalypse-level dire beast was a joyous occasion for humans. However, if this human martial artist was far above the apocalypse-level dire beast, or even above the entire Earth civilization, then no one could judge whether this matter was good or bad. Today is the annual meeting, so I don't have any manuscripts. Otherwise, I would definitely have updated it. As for the reason, Chapter 715. Hello, Sacred Swordsman Tsing Hui. I've heard my father mention your name since I was a child. Just a month ago, he sighed with regret. He said that if Sacred Swordsman Tsing Hui hadn't disappeared, with the martial arts talent you showed at that time, you could have at least reached the level of a disaster-level dire beast. I didn't expect that in just a month, Sacred Swordsman Tsing Hui would appear out of nowhere, and the ability you showed is far beyond our imagination. It's really amazing. In the Jade Sea Fortress, the daughter of the Warrior Association's president, Ran Sini, found an opportunity to talk with Sing Hui in a natural and unrestrained manner. Her expression faintly showed her admiration for Sing Hui. The president of the Warrior Association, Ran Donglai, had great influence in the local area. He even held the position of the deputy speaker of the Huaxiao region's high-level council. Although he did not hold the position of deputy speaker of the Earth Federation Supreme Council, he still entered the Supreme Council and became one of the top few people in the world. His daughter naturally had endless prestige in the entire Earth Federation, and their Ran family had also risen in the entire Huaxiao region. They could be called one of the top 10 families in the entire Huaxiao region. With this kind of background, coupled with the fact that the Ran family was a big family more than a decade ago, under the influence of the family's influence, Ran Sini was the best in terms of appearance, temperament, and speech. The number of suitors in the Huaxiao region was probably enough to circle the capital. She was smart and understood the reason why her father asked her to meet Sing Hui. Therefore, when she talked with Sing Hui, she also tried her best to show her charm and at the same time flattered Sing Hui. From time to time, she even showed a hint of admiration in her eyes. I can guess what the Warrior Association is thinking, so there's no need to say anything unnecessary. Tell your president for me that if I can find Jiang Ningji, I will join the Warrior Association. There's no need to talk about other things for the time being. Sing Hui said bluntly. Hearing Sing Hui mention Jiang Ningji's name, Ran Sini's expression did not change much. She still smiled and said, Please rest assured, Sacred Swordsman Sing Hui. We have currently mobilized all the manpower of the Warrior Association. All the registered warriors have received the relevant task to find Miss Jiang Ningji. I believe that with our Warrior Association channels, it won't be long before you can meet Miss Jiang Ningji. I hope so. Sing Hui's expression was calm. Jiang Ningji was different from him. But Sing Hui, Jiang Ningji. But Jiang. She had probably been living in anonymity all these years. It was definitely not easy to find her in a short period of time. Especially in recent years, Earth's civilization had been invaded by extraterrestrial civilizations. Hundreds of millions of humans have been displaced, and hundreds of millions of humans had died in this disaster that had swept across more than half of Earth. Under such circumstances, no one knew if Jiang Ningji had met with any accident. Sacred Swordsman Sing Hui, you are also a sacred swordsman who has been famous for many years. You have been famous in the martial arts world more than 10 years ago. Do you think you can take some time to register with our Warrior Association? After all, any warrior can be regarded as a member of our Warrior Association. Ran Sini said with a smile as she twirled the ends of her hair in a feminine manner with her slender fingers. It's not too late to let me join when you find her. After Sing Hui finished speaking, he stopped talking and quickly went inside the fortress. At the same time, he said, I just came back from the Space Channel. I have a lot of things to think about, so I won't accompany you for the time being. While speaking, he had already left Ran Sini behind. In fact, if it weren't for the fact that he still had to rely on the Warrior Association channels to find Jiang Ningji, he wouldn't have bothered to deal with the Warrior Association since they had watched the destruction of the Eastern Sun Sword sect. Seeing Sing Hui leave quickly, Ran Sini's smiling face gradually turned cold. As a martial artist, do you really have the guts to go against our Martial Artist Association? Do you think you have forgotten your roots after cultivating to become a top powerhouse? Ran Sini looked a little dissatisfied, but considering her father's order and Sing Hui's incredible combat power, she had to suppress the dissatisfaction in her heart. I'll waste a few more days. If you still don't know what's good for you, I'll ask my father to send someone else. I'm too lazy to serve you anymore. Just when the daughter of the Warrior Association's president was dissatisfied with this mission, the high-level meeting of the Huaxiao region was already held under the initiative of Marshal Jiang Kunlun. Not only the great governor L.V. Hunyuan attended this meeting, but also the president of the Warrior Association, Ran Donglai. The remaining 6 senior governors were all present except for one who was unable to attend due to space interference. In addition to these chairman-level high-level officials, there were more than 40 counselors gathered together. These 40 counselors were all senior counselors in the council, and their weight was higher than that of ordinary counselors. Everyone, this is our latest edited data. Please take a look. In the video conference room, Jiang Kunlun was playing a video at this moment. And what was shown in the video was the first disaster-level beast that Xing Hui encountered. This beast's energy level is disaster level. Jiang Kunlun said, "A disaster-level beast?" Everyone present was a high-ranking existence, and they held amazing rights in their hands. Even in the face of a disaster-level beast, they could remain calm. Back then, the disaster-level dire beast had caused fatal casualties to an armored division, leading to the deaths of tens of thousands of people. However, the main reason for that was the interference of spatial fluctuations, which caught everyone off guard. Until now, it was already impossible for a disaster-level dire beast to cause a disaster that killed tens of thousands of people like that time. If those disaster-level dire beasts rushed out of the spatial fluctuations range alone, it would only be a matter of ammunition to kill that disaster-level dire beast. Everyone, please take a look. This is the main character of our meeting this time, Xing Hui, nicknamed Sword Saint. After Jiang Kunlun said that, Qing Su had already gotten off the tank. Then, under the cautious gazes of all the senior representatives and chairmen, he turned into a streak of light and directly crashed into the disaster-level beast, killing it on the spot. Sure enough, it's worthy of having an energy level above the apocalypse-level beast. It's really terrifying. I'm afraid the disaster-level beast is nothing to him. I thought that the rumor was exaggerated, but now it seems this martial artist named Xing Hui may really have the power above the apocalypse-level beast. Seeing this scene, more than 10 people immediately suppressed their exclamations. This is the data we got from the collision just now. However, according to Counselor Jiang Xingdao, this data is almost meaningless. After Jiang Kunlun finished speaking, he turned his gaze to Senior Counselor Jiang Xingdao, who also attended this meeting. Jiang Xingdao nodded and said, "For us martial artists, our true power will completely condense into a point and erupt. In fact, what can really be observed is probably only 1/3 of the power that erupts. Even if we don't use our full strength, this kind of power control can be more precise. For example, if I don't use my full strength, the power that escapes from a blow is even only 1/5 of the actual power, or even less. 1/5 or even less. Everyone memorized this data." The image on the screen changed and showed the scene of Xing Hui's first confrontation with an annihilation-level beast. Facing such a terrifying beast that had never been killed by a human's individual strength, the dozens of counselors all sat up straight. When they saw the scene of Xing Hui killing the annihilation-level beast like how he dealt with the disaster-level beast, there was a burst of discussion in the crowd again. Even the annihilation-level beast was killed so easily. It seems that Xing Hui really has the strength above the apocalypse-level beast. After all, only by being 2 realms higher than the apocalypse-level beast can he achieve instant kill on a target creature of a lower realm. It's too early to say this now. We can't make a final judgment before we really fight the apocalypse-level beast and show the results of the fight. Let's continue watching. A moment after the voice was heard, the image quickly jumped to the appearance of the first apocalypse-level beast. When they saw the apocalypse-level beast that was as tall as a mountain but moving quickly, everyone's hearts sank at the same time. If the annihilation-level beast left the range of the space interference, humans could still kill it with a small loss by spending enough ammunition. But the apocalypse-level beast, even if it was outside the range of the spatial interference, the destruction it caused was still unimaginable. If it was within the range of the spatial interference, it would be an almost invincible existence. It would bring apocalyptic fear and despair to any battlefield it appeared on. Soon, the image on the screen changed to the duel between Xing Hui and the apocalypse-level beast. When they saw Xing Hui cut the apocalypse-level beast in half with one sword, several of the dozens of counselors present could not help but stand up at the same time. A few of them were so excited that they slammed the table and shouted, "Good! Good kill! Killing an apocalypse-level beast with one sword. Amazing! Amazing!" Really amazing. It can't be wrong. This young man named Tsing Hui definitely has the ability to surpass the apocalypse level. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to kill an apocalypse-level beast with one sword. I didn't expect that humans can really reach this level with their own physique. At present, the reason why we don't dare to enter the range of the space interference to counterattack is that we can't fight against apocalypse-level beasts. Now that such a powerful martial artist has appeared on our human side, doesn't that mean that we can make Tsing Hui turn into a sword and push through the space channels one by one? The counselors discussed for a moment and quickly thought of the benefits of Tsing Hui's appearance to the current stalemate of the Earth Federation. Let Tsing Hui turn into a sword. However, it won't be easy to make Tsing Hui completely obey our orders. Everyone, please watch the fourth video. Jiang Kunlun said in a deep voice. The screen projected Tsing Hui, the hornless dragon squad, and the others who were surrounded by a sea of beasts. Through the screen, everyone could clearly see how ferocious and terrifying the beasts surrounding them were. There are actually so many apocalypse-level beasts. There are also a large number of annihilation-level and disaster-level beasts. Oh my god, fortunately, these beasts didn't rush out in one breath. Otherwise, the defensive facilities of the Jade Ocean Fortress would definitely not be able to withstand them. The space channel of the Jade Ocean province is much more dangerous than we imagined. Everyone, it seems that we have to increase the military budget of the Jade Ocean Fortress. Looking at the sea of beasts surrounding Tsing Hui and the hornless dragon squad, the counselor's expressions suddenly became solemn. However, Jiang Kunlun did not mention increasing the budget at all. Instead, he said with a solemn expression, "Everyone, please open your eyes and watch carefully. Voice, watch carefully, my ass. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."